Hey everybody, I want to welcome you to the next step of your journey to a better life. Hey guys, we are very close to an end of the first half of entire program. How do you feel so far? I'm asking you this question because we have learned a lot. We have went through a lot already. We have practiced a lot. We went through a lot of different homeworks and we have implemented new and different things into our lives. I hope you feel great, and I also hope you feel excited, and I also hope you feel and see those little changes, those little shifts which already started to appear in all the areas of your life which you wanted to improve when you started this course. I hope you feel that way, and I hope you still have a lot of energy because we have a lot of things to cover, especially in this step. This step is one of the important steps in the entire program. As a matter of fact, this step is one of my favorites, so I hope you are ready for it. Though before, I want to kind of keep our tradition and I want to remind ourselves what have we learned in the previous step, because it's going to be relevant to the step we're going to go through today. Okay? All right, so I want to emphasize on the fact that we have worked and defined our life mission statement. We were working to define our life mission statement. Not only we defined overall life mission statement, but we were doing it for every single core pillar of our dream life. Whatever our dream life for each of us is, right? Now, I want to ask you a couple of questions about the process, guys. How do you feel? Have you done it? Have you actually came up with the core pillars of your dream life? Have you actually defined your dream life? In a way, how do you imagine it? And then, were you able to create the life mission statement for every single pillar of your dream life? I hope you were, and I hope now you're equipped with the destination. Now you actually know where you want to go. You have your Northern Star. By the way, if some of you have not done it yet or didn't have enough time or maybe struggling to do that, please don't worry, there is no reason to worry. Today, I'm going to cover that topic from the slightly different angle and perspective, and I'm sure it's going to help you to actually define your life mission statement for every single pillar of your dream life. I hope it sounds good, and I want to focus. I want your focus today. Don't want you to think what you're kind of missing out on anything. All right? Okay. So that's what we did last time. For those guys who were able to define your life mission statement, and I think these are majority of us, and for those who didn't, you still went through the process and you're very close to defining it, so it's also very relevant to you. I want to congratulate you because you have actually defined the outcomes you want out of your life, the outcomes and results what you are expecting out of every single core pillar of your dream life. That's exactly what we've done. We kind of have defined the destination. Now what we're left to do is to define the starting points, because to get to the destination we have to understand where are we going from, right? And then we have to define this gap in between where are we starting and where are we going. And definition of this gap I call designing the life. We need to create this design which is in between the starting point where we at the moment and the destination which is our outcome and result in our life. And basically we are creating the plan how to get from the point A to point B. Just think about it. Let's say you are planning a trip, road trip, and you want to go from one city to another. What do? Obviously, you do a lot of different things, but one of the things what you do is you understanding where you're coming from, and you are understanding and defining your destination. And then what you do, you kind of create the map. You kind of create this design of your trip. You try to understand where you're gonna stop, where you're gonna fill up the gas, where you're gonna sleep maybe if this is a longer trip and things like that. You basically define the milestones which you wanna achieve and which you wanna get to in order to actually move from point A to point B and get to your destination. So today, together with you guys, we're gonna be creating the design of your life. The life we need to create and follow in order to get all the desired outcomes and desired results which we want out of that life. How amazing is that? How great is that? Are you excited? Okay, so that's why I call this step, how do I call this step? Well, life designing system and the power of planning. Because as I said, the design of the life which we wanted to design in order to achieve the outcomes and results we wanted to achieve, we actually have to create the plan. We are also planning. Okay? So I have already mentioned that, and before we get into the details and go over the practical exercises and we'll design the life of our dreams together with you, I want to cover some ground and maybe define and put some definitions in place for you to actually get and make sense of everything which is going to happen today. Okay? Sounds good? Okay, let's do it. So what the life designing system is. Basically, the life designing system is kind of built on top of that unique and untraditional planning process, which will get us and guarantee us the outcomes and results which we want to get out of life. And it also will guarantee us the shortest possible way of how to get from what we desire to what we actually get as an outcome and as a result. And that is very important. That's why, by the way, I also call this system not only life designing system, but the life planning system, because it lies on the ground and the foundation of the planning processes. All right? The second of all, you probably might have this question now, hey Igor, why do we need a plan at all? Why do we need to use your life design system? Like, what is the purpose of it, right? And this is the great question. I have two answers for that. The third and the first answer is, well, it's just because our focus. Just think about it. Our focus is the most valuable treasure what we have, in my opinion. And everything and everyone around us trying to steal that from us. And if we do not have a plan and we do not have this mission statement our Northern Star, anyone and everything around us can actually steal that focus. And our focus is going to be shifted to something different, not the things which we want out of our life. And if you remember one of the steps which we have already went through with you, we actually went through the state of mind and body. And your focus actually plays the crucial role there. Remember, focus actually creates the feeling. And the feelings are actually creating what and trigger what? Emotions. And those emotions create what? Your physical and emotional state around you. And that state becomes your reality. Even in actuality, it can be a completely different thing. So that's how powerful the focus is. And that's what plan does with us, planning process, the designing process. It puts us the focus on the outcomes, on the results which we want, not on the activities which we go through. Therefore, if we don't have this plan, our focus is easily shifted by any distractions, any demands, any stresses and things what's happening around our life. And that's how we might end up with the reality, which actuality is not the real reality, but is going to become our reality. And the reality might become in the wrong thing, just because we have shifted our focus. And plan does not let us do that. They keep us on track. So this is the first answer to your question. The second answer of why do we need to plan is just because when we plan and design our life, we actually understand who do we need to create of ourselves in order to get to all those outcomes and get all those results. And here, again, I want to remind you about another step we went through where we have worked on our identity and we have defined that identity and we expanded on that identity. And remember, we were talking that in order to become and in order to get something out of life, you have to become that someone who is able to get that thing out of life. So that's why, it's another answer to your question. We need to plan because that way we will be not only able to understand what do we need to do and put the focus on, but we're going to be understanding of who do we need to become and what do we need to make of ourselves in order to be able to achieve those goals and outcomes out of our life. Also, life design and system, guys, I'm going to be introducing you today is not only the planning system, it's the system of creating thinking and feeling patterns, which will get you to the outcomes and the result a lot quicker than any other traditional planning ways. How great is that? That system literally will help you to create the shortcut from your desires, your thoughts, to the actual outcomes and results. And this is the main goal of today's step. And last but not least, one of the definitions I want to introduce you to and prepare you for. The life design and system, life planning system, will be hard initially. And it will take a lot more time for you to execute it than maybe something which you are already doing in your life. But I want to assure you, if you're going to give it a time, and I think you should give it at like 2 months to 3 months, about that period of time you need to actually implement that system. If you're going to give it a time, it's going to become your mindset. And that planning system is going to be ran by your subconscious mind without you even knowing. How powerful is that? How powerful would it be? And I'm going to give you an example here of how our mind works and why do I think that's going to happen with you. First of all, it's happened with me and it happened with a lot of different mentors I'm learning from. But there is also scientific kind of proof of how our mind is actually working with the new things. Just think about it. They've done that study where they took a lot of different people and they asked those people to actually write down their names on a piece of paper, the way they used to write it down, right? And they have taken the time of how much of the time it took those people to write down their names. Then what they did is they figured out who kind of printed their names and they figured out who kind of written their names in cursive. And now they ask those people to also write down their names, but every other letter they told them should be whether in cursive if you used to write in print or in print if you used to write in cursive. And now they took the time. Guess how much more time it took everyone to actually write down their own name? Well, the answer is 50% more. They actually literally used half as much as time to actually write down that name. It took them 50% more to create that name. And it was hard for them, right? But then what the studying group did and the managers of it did, they asked everyone to actually practice it for a couple of hours. Practice to write down your name where every other letter is whether print or cursive. And they've done it. And you know, in the end of those hours, you know what were the results? They were able to write down their own name where every other letter is cursive or print by 2/3 quicker, faster than they would write down their original name in original way, the way they came to this test with. Just imagine that. And the explanation to that is our mind have this unique ability by knowing already things, putting those things in a different kind of combination and implement them even faster than the mind was using those things in the old original way. And I'm telling you this just because today, the whole process of designing your life, of planning your life, we're going to go through and use the traditional elements of that, which your mind already know. But we're going to be putting it and putting them together and combining it in completely different way, like not standard way, the way which never been met by you and maybe heard by you before. And we're going to create the same effect when your mind know the elements, but now your mind have to use those elements in a different connections, in a different interactions between them. And that's how we're gonna, and that's how I am sure, if you're gonna give the system a time and you're gonna go through and break through that hardness and difficulty of the process initially, and then you're still going to practice this for 2-3 months, it will become your mindset, and your mind will let you do it even quicker. And what do? We create the design which is supposed to bring us outcomes and the results. So if you're going to be able to do it quicker and you're going to become your mindset, you're going to be able to concentrate your focus and full attention all the time on the outcomes and results, not the activities. Okay? It's kind of a very long introductions to the system, but I just want to make sure all the puzzles and all the pieces kind of clicking and you understand where I'm coming from and why do I want to introduce this life design system, life planning system to you today. All right? Okay, now let's dive into the practicality of it. Today, in order to create this life design system, life planning system for you, we're going to be going through the 6 different steps. And I'm going to guide you through those steps. And as a result of those steps, we're going to be able to create the life planning system for you, the actual plan for you, for your life. How does that sound? I hope it sounds great. And let's just start doing it. Before we get to the steps though, I want to cover one topic which is very relevant to the steps. And in order for you to understand those steps on a very deep level, I have to cover it and I have to talk about it. Let's talk about the traditional ways of how planning is actually being done today. And maybe there is the way how do you do your planning yourself right now at the moment. And I've been doing that way of planning for many years of my life until I was introduced to the planning process I'm going to be presenting to you today. So the traditional ways of how do we start planning was, at least for me, and I think for majority of us, is with the first question which we ask ourselves, okay, so what do we need to do? Right? Kind of seems obvious. If we want to put the plan in place, we just ask ourselves, what do we need to do? And then we start to brainstorm. So, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this, I need to do that. Let's say we want to maybe improve our health, right? Or we don't even think of improving our health. We just feel kind of we need to exercise, we need to eat, we need to sleep, or do all those things. Or in business, we need to work on sales, we need to do the marketing and all those stuffs, right? We just start to come up with the to-dos. Result, when we ask this question first, we come up with what? With the to-do lists, right? We just sit down and we're doing it. But think about it. What is happening when we ask this question that way and we start creating the list? Where our focus goes? Well, our focus goes on the activities. We actually kind of getting ourselves down to the activities level, and we start the whole planning process of thinking what kind of activities should we be performing. Obviously, they might be connecting with this outcome and results which you want out of life, but you're starting from that. And as a result, what happens? We create a lot of different to-do lists. And those to-do lists at some point overwhelm us. Because first of all, we have a lot of them and we put them in different places. We have them in our phone, we have them in our maybe email box, we have it in other computers, or maybe other different applications, or maybe on the stickers on the refrigerator and things like that, right? We create so many of those lists and they start to overwhelm us. And as soon as we open up that list or look at this list, we see so many items. And by the way, our mind will generate as many items on that list as we want, because this is our goal when we ask ourselves the question, what do we need to do? In order to plan, what do we need to do? In order to create this plan, what do we need to do? And our mind give us what do we need to do. And we create so many items and they become overwhelming to us. And as soon as we look at them, we think, oh no, we're never gonna make them. We're never gonna do them because there are so many of them. It's not gonna be enough of our lifetime to actually accomplish all those things which we have put on that list by asking that question. And what we do, we procrastinate. It kind of paralyzes us. We don't want to dig into that plan. We don't want to dig into that list. We don't want to go over so many items. We don't understand what the items are all about. And we don't want which of them are important, which of them are not. Because we have worked and put our focus on the creating that list. We become the to-doists, as I call ourselves, when we create the list and do the planning from that point of view and from that perspective. Okay, just keep this in mind. This is traditional way, and we kind of getting lost. We are being lost in those to-do lists. We overwhelmed with those to-do lists, and that's why we put them aside and we procrastinate, and we better do nothing, or we do completely random things and don't have a plan, because the plan for us is those horrible to-do lists which overwhelm us, make us stress, make us anxious, and we don't want to touch them anymore. Okay, this is traditional way of planning. We are not gonna go that route. We're gonna now go through the 6 steps, as I said, through this special, specific, and unique and untraditional planning process. Let's start actually doing that. The first step out of those 6 steps is to define your core pillars of your dream life. And I already mentioned to you, which we have already were doing this during the previous step. And as I said, if you were not able to define them, I'm going to explain you how to do that from the different perspective today. So first step is to define your core pillars of your dream life. How do you do that and why do you do that? Well, just think about it. If you want to create the plan and you want to understand what do you need to do, right? Is it easier to think about the life, which seems so huge for us, which have so many complexity in it, so many details, so many things we want to think about? Is it easier just to plan the life, or maybe to take a little thing and part out of life like health, or maybe even a smaller part like diet, and now started to think of what do we want to do within the diet and create the plan for the diet, not for the entire life? I think you already understand the answer. The next example, your relationships, right? Is it easier to work on the entire life and don't understand where those relationships kind of fit in that life? Or just take your relationships as a little chunk and start working on these relationships and start coming up with the plan of how do you want to improve, what kind of outcomes and results you want to get out of those relationships, and then maybe come up with the to-do list which actually going to be fulfilling on those outcomes and results which you put for this little thing, not the entire life. Well, the thing is, guys, I basically have defined right now to you in other words called the system of chunking. Chunking system. You see, we want to chunk up your life, chunk up our life, and start thinking of those chunks, not on the entire life, because the entire life, as that huge list of the to-dos, are overwhelming us. We're trying to keep all the things in our heads, and we're getting overwhelmed. Therefore, we cannot put this puzzle together because we cannot compartmentalize our life just on our mind. That's why first we have to create those pillars of the dream life. Why is that so important? Because the way you chunk the things makes you want doing them or don't want to do them. That's the thing, and I'm gonna show you that with an example. So once again, the way you chunk up your life or chunk up anything which you do to create the plan actually makes you want to do that or makes you don't want to do that. So it's a very important point here, guys, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Imagine the person who want to start taking care of his or her health. And that person now decided, okay, in order to do that, I need to exercise. And I want to go to the gym, right? And then the person never goes to the gym, never actually starts to exercise. And at some point, when you meet that person, you ask him, hey, you wanted to exercise, right? Right. You wanted to go to the gym, right? Right. So why haven't you done it yet? And what the person starts doing it is that, well, it's so hard, the person says. And you ask them, like, why is that hard? And they say, well, in order to start going to the gym, I first need to understand which gym I have to go. So I have to search and pull up on the internet what are the gym places out there. I need to understand what they all different with. I need to find the differences. I need to find the perfect gym for me. I need then to figure out what I want to do in that gym. I need to figure out what the pricing politics is in every single gym. I need to compare them, and it all takes time. And then finally I decided which gym I want to go. Well, they usually have that thing which you have to come personally to the gym and, you know, sign the agreement and get the membership. Well, I have to drive there. It takes time. I might get to the traffic jam. I'm gonna lose time, and then I'm gonna get there, and then I'm gonna, you know, sign a lot of papers, go through a lot of different applications, and they're gonna ask me different questions which will make me uncomfortable. And then finally I'm gonna get my membership, and I'm gonna pay money for it. I'm gonna lose money on that. That's kind of thinking, you know, the person might have. And then I have this membership, and then I have to figure it out what kind of clothing should I buy for myself, sporting clothing, in order to start going to the gym. Now I have to figure out where to find that clothing, how to find it, where to go to get it, what kind of sizing are there, and things like that, and so on and so on and so on. Just imagine this. This is the same effect which is happening with us when we create those huge lists. We create so many items in there. We overwhelmed ourselves, and this makes us to procrastinate. So without the chunking, we basically are buried in that huge amount of different to-dos, different activities we think we need to perform in order to get to the outcome or the results. As in this example, right? In the next example, with that same person, guys, if we would ask that person, hey, are you hungry? And let's say that person is hungry at the moment, and the person say, yeah, I'm hungry, let's go eat. And you're like, okay, where are we going? You say, okay, just a restaurant there, I know, let's go and eat there. It all of a sudden becomes easy for them. So to go to the gym and buy the membership consists of 120 different steps. But to go to eat actually consists of 2 steps. Let's just go to the restaurant, drive there, let's say, or go buy food and then eat. So only 2 chunks, only 2 pieces you have to cover in order to eat. You see the differences here? This is completely different mentality and different focus. In one case, you put your focus on the outcome and results, what you want out of the existing situation around you, which is, I want to eat. So for me to eat, I need to drive and eat. That's it. But when you think about the gym, something maybe you're hesitant about, you come up with these huge activities. You kind of blur your life within those too many activities in order to procrastinate, because it's a lot easier. It's hard to go to the gym. It's hard to work out. It's simple, but it's not that easy. And your mind will let you to procrastinate by coming up with this huge list of the activities which you need to do. That's where the chunking comes into the place. As soon as you will chunk up those activities, and now you're not going to take a look at the entire thing what you need to do, but you're just going to look at the little chunk, it will become easier to execute it and make it done. Like in this case with the food. To eat the food, we just need to drive there and eat. Although to drive there we have to go and find maybe the Uber, and then we have to drive it, and then we have to take the menu, and we have to understand what do we want to eat, and then we have to drink, and we have to choose the drink, and then we have to talk with the waitress and all those things. A lot of different to-dos and activities in between there as well. The difference is whether we want to put focus on them or we want to put focus on the outcomes. And that's where this chunking system comes into the place, and chunk help us to put the focus on the outcomes and the results. Another example, I think very good one, I love it. If you are driving right now, or maybe you learn how to drive, or you have a driver license, remember the time when you actually started to learn how to drive. If you were like me, I was all the time super scared of the lessons of driving. I was sweating my butt off. I am sorry for saying that. And I was super stressed and I was super nervous. Why? Because the whole thing consisted of so many activities for me. Well, I have to get to the car. I have to open the car. I have to close the doors. I have to buckle myself up. I don't know how to do that. And then I have to start the car. To start the car, I have to push on the pedal. And then I start the car. And then before start the movement, I have to take a look at the one side mirror, another side mirror. Then I have to look at the rear window mirror, and I have to check and I have to move my head around and all that stuff, and then I have to make a left turn, and I have start movement, and then I move, and if I God forbid I have the stick, I now have to think about the stick, of how to actually switch the gears, and I have to think of how to use my feet, and which pedal is the gas pedal, which is the clutch, which is the brake, and when I put on them and stuff like that. So again, it becomes so overwhelming. It makes you stress. It makes you feel super anxious and nervous because you have so many things. And then you learn how to drive, and now you know how to drive. What is the driving for you now? Couple of chunks, right? You just go to the car, you start it, and you go. And everything else is happening on your subconscious level. All your head movements, all your looks at the mirrors, all the clutches and the stick switching process and stuff happening on its own on your subconscious mind. That's why the chunking, and this is the chunks, that's what the chunks done with your mind. Your mind understood what kind of chunks that whole activities consist of and what is the outcome. And the outcome is just to drive seamlessly, to drive without stress, to drive without anxiety. And your mind know the outcome and know the results which you await, and your mind gives it to you, and you're not looking at it as the number of so many millions activities, but as the chunks. So this chunking system, it plays crucial role, guys, into our life. So that's why we started our planning process and going through this your life designing life planning system with this first step. We have to understand what are the core pillars of your dream life, because we're going to be creating those chunks, and we're going to be with those chunks, we're going to be letting our minds and ourselves put in the focus on the actual chunks, on the outcomes and results what we want out of life, not the activities which we want to perform. Now, how do you come up with those chunks for your life? Well, I have some hints and tricks which I want to share with you. And by the way, I'm going to give you a little bit of time today to actually sit down and put those chunks, put those categories, put those pillars of your life together, because we need them for next steps in this 6 steps of creating and designing our life. Okay? All right. So how do we create the chunks? I have basically 2 answers, 2 ways of how do I do that. The first is I'm trying to imagine that. And I will explain what do I mean by that. I try to imagine my life in my own picture. Like there is no limitations, there are no boundaries, there are no rules. In perfect case scenario, how do I imagine my world, the world around me? What I do, whom I with relationships with, what is my health, how do I look, where do I work, how many businesses do I have, how much money do I have, how many kids do I have. In all those things, I'm trying to imagine and create the picture of my own life without any limitations. Like if I would have this genie who would create my life today the way I want it, how do I see that life? And by answering this question, I usually touch up on those areas which are important to me. And they become my pillars. I understand, oh, okay, if I want that, that means this. If I want to have a great body, that means I have to exercise. Oh, that means I kind of worry about my health. If I want a lot of money, oh, that means probably I have to work on my business, or I have to maybe change something in my career or something like that. Oh, that probably goes under wealth and things like that, right? I kind of already start to chunking up the whole thing when I am thinking and imagining my entire life of how do I see that. And from there, I kind of come up with those main pillars of my life. By the way, if you're gonna go through that process, don't you think that you only can cover and should cover one area of your life, let's say health. Don't stop there. You actually have to cover as many areas of your life as possible, and we don't want to lose any piece of our lives. So for at least, I would suggest you cover such areas of your life: health, wealth, love, happiness, and fulfillment. These 4 pillars of the good life, which is definition of good life for me, cover at least them. And by the way, when you do that, you actually should chunk up your life into 2 lives. We obviously have only one life, but we actually have 2. It's personal and professional. So then you're going to be working on the chunks and the pieces and the pillars of your dream life. Think personal life and think professional life. Now in these 2 big chunks, what kind of areas of your life you want to work on? And as I said, there might be health, wealth, love, and happiness, but it might be something different for you. Plus, you can go even deeper. I go even deeper of health, wealth, love, and happiness, and now I create the more chunks in that categories. For example, in my health, I go through my spiritual health, my physical health, my emotional health, my mental health, my sleep, my diet, my exercise, all those things. I kind of try to chunk it up even on a deeper level, just to concentrate on the things which I'm really interested in. In my wealth, I might chunk it up to business, to education, to finance, right? In my love, I might chunking it up into my relationships, my family, my friends. Into my happiness and fulfillment, I might chunk it up in my mission, my legacy, right? My legacy, and something else. So that's how I chunk up my life. And by the way, to make it easier on you, I'm gonna attach the list of possible categories, of possible pillars of the entire life which we have with you. It's going to be attached to this video, so you can take it and use it as the hints, to create your own categories, your own pillars of your life. The second way of how you actually create those pillars out of your life is if you have already those to-do lists which we were talking about with you. Just, find out where they are, in which application, in which notepad they are. Get them all together in one place. Create this huge list out of them. And then sit down and go through that process of finding out what is the common thing in between many of those items. And I assure you, you will find out that all those items, even if you have like 200, 500, 1,000 items, they're going to be splitted into between 5 to 12 categories at most. That's how it usually works. And as soon as you're going to be done with that, you're going to have those 5 to 12 different categories, and that's how you're going to understand what is truly important in your life, because obviously those to-dos were made out of you thinking of what you want to achieve in your life, right? And that's how you come up with those categories. Now you might compare it. For the sport sake, you might also go through the first method, which is just imagining your world with your own image and then coming up with the categories. Now compare these categories, maybe adjust them a little bit, but as a result, you have those categories. And now before I give you some time to actually work on those pillars of those categories, I call them differently, but those are the pillars, those are the categories, those are the chunks you want to chunk up your life with in order to look at the chunks and work with the chunks. And matter of fact, we're going to be only planning the chunks, not the actual items within them. That's how we're going to eliminate our procrastination, eliminate our anxiety, eliminate our frustration, eliminate our overwhelming feeling when we look at so many things. Okay? The last but not least, as I said, to summarize the rules of creating those categories. First rule, create those categories within two big chunks, which are your personal life and your professional life. Okay? This is the first. The second, name those categories, name those pillars juicy. Put the emotion into them, because emotion, is created by our feelings. And the feelings we have and emotions we have when we look at those categories, when we'll be looking at those categories further on down the line, it's going to create this same emotion we're going through right now to create this emotional name. And those emotions will trigger our emotional state we need so much in order to actually succeed and improve all those areas of our life, all those main pillars of our dream life. So don't say the diet, but say the best diet in the world, right? Don't put just health, but put extraordinary health. Don't put the exercising, put I'm gonna become master of powerlifting. Let's put it that way. So call those categories emotionally, call them juicy, so they would trigger the positive emotions. And now when you think of them, and it takes time, you see, I even did not come up with the perfect names, but I think you understand the drill. And I will give you some of the examples of the juicy names on this list which are attached to that video, guys, as well. So name them juicy, work on them, okay? I'm gonna give you a little bit of time right now. Click on a pause, work on those main pillars of your life, create the list of them, chunk them up, and you're going to be creating the system, the chunks. You're going to be looking at your life through the prism of all those categories, which we're going to have only from 5 to 12. You're not going to get more. If you got 15, it's okay. Then shrink them down and maybe try to figure out what the common between those categories and still create from 5 to 12 categories for yourself. And the whole entire planning process, as you can already guess, will be wrapped up around those categories, which are only 5 to 12 in count, not different million to-dos which we have listed ourselves in these traditional ways of planning. All right? Okay, work on your categories. All right, now I hope you got your categories, and I want to summarize, guys, what did we just do in this step? It's not the over of the entire step yet, but in this part of this first step of creating our life planning system. Well, what we did is we actually took our life, our big piece of something we want to create the design out of, and we have chunked it up. We understood what our dream life actually consists of. And now we're going to be just taking piece by piece out of that life, and we're going to be only working on that one piece, which will bring us peace, which will make us do not procrastinate, which will motivate us, which will ensure we're not getting overwhelmed, because the size of that piece is not that huge anymore as the life on its own. Make sense? Okay, great. I hope you got all those pillars of your dream life. Next thing what we need to do within this step, because we are creating the pillars of our life, we need to understand where we are at in those pillars of our life. Remember, at the very beginning, I compare the planning system and the planning process with actually taking the road trip, where you're going from the point A to the point B. Well, then you're trying to go from the point A to the point B, and you're trying to use your GPS. What do you do first? Well, first, for the GPS to actually draw you a picture, a map, a design of your trip, you enter the point where are you starting in, right? Because we don't know where we want to get and how we want to get there to our destination if we don't know where we are at right now. So we have to figure it out, our position, our location within those main pillars of our life, which we have just came up with. And for that, we're going to be using this wonderful method, which is publicly available and called the Wheel of Life. We actually going to be creating the wheel of your life, where we're going to be using those pillars of your dream life as the material. All right, I'm going to actually show you how the wheel of life looks like. This wheel of life is kind of already created, but I'm going to guide you through of how to create it for yourself. So basically what the wheel of life is basically the circle. You see the big circle here on the picture, right? Draw the circle, and by the way, I attach that circle to that video, so you can just print it out and you will have your own circle. If you don't want to use that attachment, just draw the circle yourself. Draw the circle and now split them into the equal parts, and the number of those parts are the number of those core pillars of your dream lives you have, which you just came up with. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different pillars of the good life, as an example, right? So now you have splitted that circle in the 8 pieces as it's given here on this picture. Next, what you do is you figured out where the center is, and then you split that line which comes from the center and ends in the end of the circle, in the surface of the circle. You split it into the 10 different parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. We created the scale here. This is the scale we're going to be using to actually score every single main pillar of our dream life, to score from 1 to 10. Therefore, we just put here from 1 to 10, okay? And that's we got the circle. We now have this circle split it into the areas of the main pillars of our dream life, and each of them have the scale from 1 to 10. The rest is very easy. Now guys, please evaluate your life, but not the life overall. We're not working with the huge piece here, we're working with the chunks. Evaluate every single pillar of your dream life on a scale from 1 to 10 and mark what the number for each of the areas of your life you gotten. I will give you an example. Let's take your health. We got health here, right? Think of your health. Number 1 is you don't take care of your health whatsoever. You don't exercise, you don't sleep well, you don't eat well, you don't follow your diet, and you don't care about your body. This is being 1. 10 being you feel like your health is thriving. You've never been healthy as never before. You're fit, you eat well, you exercise, you sleep, you're taking care of your spiritual health, your mental health, your emotional health, and your physical health. And you've never felt better before. That being 10. On the scale from 1 to 10, where are you at this scale? If you are at 6, as in this example, just, put the 6 here and the 6 here, and then connect these 2 dots. That's going to be the area of your life, which is represented by this filled color here in my example. All right? That's how you evaluate one of your pillars. Now evaluate your another pillars. Maybe it's finance. How are you doing in finance? How are you evaluating your finance at the moment? Again, 1 is being, I don't care about my finance, I don't have enough money, I don't know how to earn money, I don't know how to save money, I don't know how to multiply money, I know nothing about money. This is being 1. 10 is basically you are millionaire, or you have created so many passive incomes in your life that you don't need to work anymore, and you're actually working for fun and all that stuff, right? This is how maybe you imagine the 10 is for you. This is, by the way, also your kind of scale, and how do you imagine the maximum in this particular category? What would be the perfect case scenario, your imaginary life within the finance, or within the health, or within the wealth, and all those areas, the main pillars which you just came up with. And then you do the same. In this case, finances 4, let's say. You feel like your finances are at 4. Okay, you put the finances, you again connect the dots, and you got another area which is filled in with a different color. And you do that exercise for all the main pillars of your life. As a result, I want to congratulate you. As soon as you're going to be done with that, you're going to be taking a look and visualizing your life, the wheel of your life. And the wheel of your life is that something you have in the center here. It's not that circle. That circle is our benchmark. It's our goal. But the reality is right there. Now, majority of us, I would guess, would probably have something which looks like that on my picture here. What that something means. Well, I'm going to ask you a question about that. If that is the wheel of my life, let's say, what do you think, how fast can I go? Is that slows me down or makes me go faster? How you think my ride would be? Smooth or pretty rough and bumpy? Well, I think you understand the question. As a matter of fact, if I want to go 150 miles per hour with these wheels on my life, like life would be the car, my vehicle, and it would have such a wheel, how would I go? Would I go 150 miles per hour? And if I would go 150 miles per hour, what would happen with me? Well, I will probably crash, right? Right. That's how important this wheel of life is. That's how important those pillars of our dream life are. And that's how important to understand where we at, where we stand, and what now we need to do to improve it, because we want this wheel as smooth as possible. Because if it's smooth, and even if it's not at maximum, guys, but even if it's smooth, let's say it's 7 all the way through, 7 all the way through, how much smoother your ride would be? How much faster and quicker your ride might be, and how much more safe your ride will be, right? That's why I love this wheel of life. That's why I love to actually fill it up with the main pillars of our life, and that's why I love this exercise. So now we are here. What do we do next? Well, next what we do is we choose the area of our life which got the highest score. In this case, it's 7, right? Now we take the 7 and we connect all the dots around the 7. All the dots around the 7. And we make this perfect circle at the level of 7. And then we're going to be seeing what are the gaps for each of the areas of our life, the main pillars of our dream lives. What are the gaps in between where we're at right now and in between that perfect 7? For this case, for your case, it might be 8, might be 6, might be anything, right? And then we take it another category, or it's at 7, beautiful. That category is 2 points off. It's 1 point off is at 6. That is at 4. It's like 3 points off. So now we know which areas of our life we need to improve in order to make our entire life a lot smoother, so we can go a lot faster and it would be a lot more safe for us. How great is that? That's what this first step is all about. If you need some time, just click on a pause and work with that picture here. Create your wheel of life. Define your main pillars of the dream life. Scale them from 1 to 10. Score them. Connect the dots with and see how your wheel of life looks like. And figure it out and list all those areas which you need to be starting working first on, because you see how much do they impact the smoothness of that wheel of your life. Okay? All right. I know, guys, this step, the first step of actually designing your life, was packed with so many things, with so much theory, so much examples, and at the same time practical exercise. But I needed you to go through that, because this is the step number 1, and that step actually starts the whole planning process, and we cannot skip it, because you see we put the foundation here, and now we're going to be building up on that foundation. Because guess what? What our entire planning process is, it's basically filling that gap. Our first benchmark is 7 in this case. Now we have to improve the areas of our life to 7, all those ones which need to get to the 7. And we're actually going to be creating the plan for that. This is our first milestone. And then as soon as we're going to be achieving that, then we're going to be still planning further, and we're going to be understanding, okay, how can we go to 8, to 9, and which area of our life should we start improving, or maybe should we start improving simultaneously all of them. And then we're going to come up with the plan how to do that. So we're actually going to be creating the plan for every single area to fill up that gap from where we are right now to where we want to be, to get to those outcomes and results which we want. Okay? So I will resume up this first step in designing our own life. First thing what we need to do is we have to figure it out, our main and core pillars of our dream life. As soon as we figure them out, we score them. And as soon as we score them, we now know what are those areas of our lives, first of all, which are important to us, and second of all, which one of them we have to work on first in order to create the smooth wheel of our life. And by the way, entire set of the categories, in this case 8 categories, basically becomes the areas of the constant in non-stop improvement areas and categories for you, for your life. It's not just one-time exercise, guys. You gotta go through that exercise many times, almost every single week. And we're going to be talking about this a little bit further on in this lesson. And you have to work on this wheel of life. Okay? All right. Now we have covered this first step in designing your dream life. Let's get to the second step. And second step, and I call second step, is the step where we learn how to capture and assign. And I'm going to explain you that. What does it mean, capture and assign? Basically, with this step, I want to kind of shift your understanding, traditional understanding of how to create your to-do lists. I want to transform the to-do lists into the captions list. And I'm going to explain. Just imagine that. The list themselves, they are overwhelming because you think this is your to-do list. You have to do something about it. And as soon as you start putting items in them, you kind of feel committed. You kind of feel obliged. You kind of feel pushed. And you feel kind of responsibility of doing something and make a decision right away as soon as you put this item in. That process clutters your headache, meaning your mind, and lets you procrastinate and lets you fool and fill in all the memory and use up all the memory and your hard drive right there. That's what the to-do lists do with us. That's why we procrastinate and don't make them. Though, guys, we need them. And you're going to see as we go further, we're going to need them. So we might as well learn how to actually do them, but without that overwhelming feeling. And I call that process the process of capturing. Just think about it. As soon as we have any idea, any thought in our mind, what we need to do is we have to capture it. Capture it, take it, and put it somewhere. And don't ever think about this again. I mean, don't hold it in your head. Why? Because we're going to be putting it in the system, and I'm going to be explaining that. We're going to be putting this in the system, which will remind us about itself. And we're never going to forget those items which we have captured. And if we know that, that brings us peace. We know I can easily capture that thing, put that thing into that system, and forget about it. So that's why capturing, it's a lot more exciting process. It's fun process, and it does not push you to make decisions right away. Your goal is just to capture. Oh, I have this idea. Awesome. I just captured it and put it in my place. That's it. Oh, I have that thought. I have just take it and put it into the place. That's all what you need to do. For that to happen, you gotta create only one space, one place, not multiple places where you used to create your to-do lists. Please come up with one place where you want to put all your captures in. It has to be one place. Whether you're a kind of task manager, which you use like I use in my life, and maybe you have your 3-ring binder and you're using that to put all your goals in. Okay, use that, but only use one source. Okay. And then, before you start capturing things and put those things into that thing, you gotta put there your main pillars of the dream life, the ones we just worked on. You already have prepared that environment to be chunked up, because those chunks again will let you focus on them, not on those captures which you put them in. So we kind of make it even more light and not that hard. Make it very simple and easy. Like double down on the simpleness and easiness and seamlessness of the process, because we're working with captions, not the to-dos, and we're working with the chunks right away, not with the entire piece, right? So you put there, in my case, for example, in Task Manager, I create the project and I create the categories which represent my main pillars, core pillars of my dream life. And as soon as I got some idea, some thought, the result of some conversation with someone, I just capture that, I put in that plan and I forget about it. I clean up my head and I'm all again ready to create another ideas, to think another thoughts, to have another conversations, and don't worry and hold anything on the back of my mind. It gives me the peace of freedom, if you want to call it that way. Okay? So as a result of this, and this one was quick and will be quick, I promise. The next one though is going to be a major thing which we're going to be going through. But guys, we got to go through. That may be lesson. Today's step is not that emotional and not filled with so emotional and interesting things you kind of go through as previous steps, but we have to go through that process. Remember, you got to give it the time. It's going to be hard at the beginning. Remember our exercise with the thumbs, right? And this is our entire life. We're planning our life. It's going to be hard at the beginning. It's going to be slower initially, but then it will become your mindset. Remember, this is the system not of planning. It's a system, not only planning, but it's a system of actually creating the thinking and feeling patterns to actually get to your outcomes and results as quick as possible. So in the end of this exercise, this step as your homework, if you want to call it that way, create the place which is going to be only place from now and on you're going to be put your captions in. And then whatever you have in your mind, whatever you have in other lists already, put in that list by categorizing them already, by putting them under the pillars of the dream life which you have created yourself in, and put them already in that place. Okay? And then just start capturing. We're going to need this as we go through another step during this exercise of creating and designing our dream life. Okay? All right. That's it for this second step. That was easy. Kind of a little briefer for you guys after the first one. Okay, now we're going to get and skip to the third step. The third step is actually the core step. It's where designing and planning system takes its power and kind of impacts you and multiplies and accelerates your success if you use it properly. And the third step is actually creating a map. What MAP stands for? Massive Action Plan. Just think about it. Again, the case of the road trip. We started at point A, we go to the point B. Now we know where we started, by the way. We have created our wheel of life. Now we also know the outcomes which we have created in the previous steps. So we know where we're going. Now what do we need? We need the map. We need the map to follow up the process. What the map is? Massive Action Plan. We now have to create the plan, the actual plan of how to get from this point A to point B. How exciting is that? And that plan is going to be your untraditional plan. It's going to be unique plan, which will help you to fight procrastination, which will motivate you, which will become fun, and which will feel very emotional, very exciting place to work in and to work with, I promise you. Now, to create that plan, we have to go through series of questions and series of actions. As a matter of fact, there are going to be 3 questions we're going to be asking ourselves and 3 actions we're going to be taking. Okay? And that's all going to be within this third step of creating the life designing system for ourselves. Okay? Again, I want to remind you, why do we start with questions? Well, questions, when we ask them, they shift our focus. And where the focus goes, energy flows. And where the focus goes, feelings are being triggered. And the feelings are triggering what? Emotions. And emotions triggering what? This state. And we need this state. We need this state, guys, in order to succeed in this planning process. And that state will help us to come up with a lot better results, with a lot better outcomes, with a lot better activities which we need to do. Therefore, we need to ask ourselves questions. Questions help us to get to those right answers. And the better questions we ask, the better answers we get. The better answers we get, the better decisions we make. The better decisions we make, the better actions we take. And the better actions we take, the better results and the outcomes we get, right? And we want that. That's how we speed up the process, starting with questions. So, let's start with these 3 questions we have to ask ourselves. The first question is, what do I want? What do I expect out of life? What kind of outcome? And what kind of results it's gonna bring me? Again, you see, it's not first question as a traditional planning, what do I need to do? No, because if you start thinking of what do I need to do, you coming out of your place, current place of your focus. What are you focusing on? And your focus might have been shifted by all the stress, all the anxiety, all the demands, all the changes that are happening in your life. And you are coming out from that place. And now imagine if you're coming out from that place, will you be able to create truly amazing activities which will lead you to the truly amazing outcomes and results? I don't think so. That's why it's so important to ask the questions in a particular order. In this case, the first thing what we do, we ask ourselves the question, what do we really want out of life? In other words, what kind of outcome and kind of results are we expecting? And that way we put our focus on those results and outcomes, not on the activities, right at the gates. As soon as we started to plan and creating this massive action plan. How great is that? I think it's super. That's what we have to ask ourselves. And by the way, when we answer the question, we have to put the answer for every single pillar of our good life, of the dream life, which we just creating for ourselves right now. And for those pillars which we have defined for ourselves in the first step of the steps of creating and designing our life. Okay? So answer this question for every single pillar and be as specific as you can be, because what you write and how you detail things, that's what you invite. For example, don't say, I want more money. Because if you want more money, I want to answer you, well, here's your dollar, get out of here. It might sound crucial, but that's the thing. If you want more money, $1, it's $1 more than you have right now. That's what you want? Probably not. You want to be wealthy. Maybe you want to be financially independent or free, right? Or maybe you want to have the passive incomes which are coming in and covering all your expenses, and you being financially free, independent, and you do other things. So formulate them carefully, very detailed way, in order to actually put this emotion into them, to get this attachment to them, to really respect them, feel and think about them as something which you truly desire. Come from the place of your heart, of the place of your emotions, and name those things and write them down as your outcomes and your results. We need to do that because we have to put the focus on them, and emotion brings the focus, and we have to create our reality around those things. Okay? So answer that question, and as I said, be as specific as you can on that. The second question which you want to ask yourself is, why do I want all those things? What is the purpose of me having those outcomes and those results? Guys, this is huge. The purpose actually brings the emotion into the table, even bigger emotions which are massive, which now when you're going to come up with that purpose and going to be writing down the purpose and actually thinking about the purpose, that should bring a lot of different and positive emotions within you. So when you be actually working on achieving those outcomes and results in your life, which will be wrapped up in that purpose of yours, You're gonna be very emotionally and mentally strong, and that will help you to go through all the obstacles, all the difficulties, issues, and problems which you will definitely meet on the way to achieve those outcomes and results. And actually the purpose will actually serve the purpose. That will help you to break through and go through those moments of aha moments and go and break through them and actually get those results and outcomes which you want. And the purpose now actually shifts your emotional state as well, because it plays and triggers your emotions, and emotions create your state. And in this state now, when you know what you want, what are the outcomes and results which you're expecting out of yourself and out of life and maybe out of others. And now you also know the purpose why you want them. Now imagine this energy, that charge what you have within you, which you now will be using to actually creating the list, to create a list of captions, to-do list. How great is that? Feel the difference now? I hope you do. So work on this second question and put the answers for every single pillars. Why do you want that thing? Why do you want that outcome? Why do you want that result? Because guys, as I told you, we don't want to become the to-doists. We don't want to become the achievers which actually complete and achieve the to-do lists, but not actually getting to the results and outcomes we want. This is, by the way, the reason why do we sometimes feel like we are achievers, but at the same we achieve so much and we've done so much, but we still feel shallow. We don't feel any fulfillment. It's just because we achieved the lists. We complete, and Marcus completed those items, but we forget about those bigger chunks. The chunks which our life consists of, and we don't put our focus on them. We don't get the emotional about that, and therefore we kind of float through the life and we're not building our life. We actually just, chipping away of that rock we were talking about in the previous step and not getting to that sculpture we want to create out of our life. So that's why it's important to ask these two questions. What do you want? What the outcome and results should be for you? And what is the purpose? And then third, and this is going to be the third questions, I told you it's going to be 3 questions here within this third step. Guys, you got to ask yourself now, what should I do? That's where this question comes in. But look at this question now. It has completely different power, different energy, because now the question is wrapped up in the things and the outcomes and results what we want and the purpose of that. How great is that? Now we need to start actually putting the action items, our to-do lists, our caption list, because now we know how capture. Right? And now we should write down what are those things we want to do now in order to achieve those outcomes with that purpose which we have for every single pillar of your life. That's your next assignment. That's what you need to do. By the way, guys, don't get overwhelmed if you are not keeping up with the pace. You can click on a pause and do your thing and then continue. And by the way, in the end of this guiding you through that the 6 steps, I'm going to be taking you to my screen. I'm going to be sharing you my worksheets and my system, and I will be sharing you practical movement of what I do in order to go through all those 6 steps and create and design the life of my dreams. Okay, so if you're getting slightly overwhelmed, don't get, you're gonna have it for your lifetime, and you're gonna have guided by me as a practical exercise, me showing you what to do after we're done with the whole process here at the moment. Okay, all right, so now you put this list. We have just answered these 3 questions. What did we do with these 3 questions, guys? We understood our results and outcomes, and we put the focus on them. We understood the purpose. Why do we actually want to do them? And now we actually created those to-do items under all those pillars, each of the pillars of our dream life. Now we have the action plan, guys. Now we know what to do. How great is that? Now we have to start doing it, right? How do we do that? By taking 3 actions. We are still within this third step of creating the massive action plan, which consists of 3 questions we just covered. And next we're going to cover 3 actions we have to take with that list of the to-dos we have created for the outcomes with the purpose. So what are the first thing we need to think about those to-dos now? Well, what are our musts? What are the things we must do with no question? Basically, we have to select 20% of items on that list and think which of this 20% will bring us 80% of results. Guys, again, I said that system is not only planning system, but the thinking and feeling patterns, creating thinking and feeling patterns. And one of the patterns I want you to develop is the pattern of thinking results and outcomes, not the activities. Okay? That's why by working through this exercise right now, we have to now understand what are those minimum of the items will bring this maximum impact, maximum results. And we select them, we just, maybe put the asterisks to all of them, which we think will bring us 80% of the results. Now we know even a condensed list of those items, but they all still are wrapped up into the outcome and the purpose. They still are because they are from that list, which have been created after we figure out our outcomes and our purpose, okay? So now we have this list of 20% of those items, which will bring us 80% of the results. This is first action we've done. Second actions and second thing what we need to do is we have to actually create the time frame. We have to understand how much time will it take us to actually execute upon every single item which we have on the list in this 20% of the items. Why do we need that? It's just because if we keep this in our head, we tend to overestimate. And some of the things we can be done maybe within the week, it seems to us, because of this overwhelming feeling within us, we think it's going to take us for like 3 months, and we're going to be mistaken in planning those things improperly, and therefore we're going to be not going to be getting to the outcomes and results as fast as we want it. So we now have to sit down and for each item have to estimate how much time. An estimation is basically range from 5 minutes to 50 minutes, from 1 hour to 2 hours, from 5 hours to 1 day, from 1 day to 1 week, and so on. Just figure out what do you think is the time frame for you to execute those items. Why do we need that? It's just because we're going to be selecting afterwards most important items. First of all, those must items, and second of all, out of them, we're going to be selecting the items which take less time, because with less time we can get massive impact, better impact, because all those items are the ones who are going to bring us 80% of the result. Make sense? I hope it makes sense. So that was the second thing we have to do. And the third thing we have to do is we have to find the leverage. In other words, we have to find whom can we connect into our plan, whom can we share this plan with, and who can help us to actually achieve that. And by the way, the leverage is not the same thing as delegating, because delegating, it's when you take the piece of your plan, you give it to someone, and you wait them to execute upon it. And if they didn't, you become frustrated, you become angry, and you become pissed off, and you did not participate in the process. Leverage is when you take something and you could not move that something before, but you take the leverage now, and now you can move it in the direction of getting your results and the outcomes. That's what the leverage is, and you are actually participating because you are holding this, like literally holding this leverage and moving the things in leverage, okay? And I'm going to give you an example, quick example. It might not be perfect example, but just off the top of my head, just to understand what is leverage, what the leverage is. Let's say you are not working mom, and you kind of taking care of your kids all the time and all the different errands which you run throughout the day. And one of them is to, wake up the kids, dress them, feed them, and get them to school. And then you have to pick them up from school. And then in between you have so many different things, and you are so frustrated and so overwhelmed by all those things which you do throughout your day that you're all the time stressful. And as a result, you don't really spend quality time with your kids. So now how can you leverage it? Well, maybe you can ask someone to actually give them a ride in the morning, your neighbor, who are going and and giving the right to their kids to that same school. That is leveraging. You give the kids to the mom or the dad of that family, and they give them a right. You use this time to go over all those things which you need to do today, and you kind of make them done, and that makes you happier. And then you go and pick up your kids yourself, because you still want to participate. Remember, leverage is participation. You go and pick up the kids yourself, but you are not stressful anymore because you have caught up with all your things which you wanted to do just because someone gave them a ride. And now you can't spend the quality time with your kids, right? And then you go home and you feel better, and in every single morning you're also not rushing and not skipping the beautiful moments with your kids because you know someone will give them a ride. This is leveraging. In other words, you find someone who might help you to speed up the process and take up some of the things by leveraging them, meaning you still participate in the process. You still participate in the life of your kids, but you are creating the even better quality of your participation. Okay? So that is leverage. And that's it. That's how we just have created the massive action plan. And not only I call it massive action plan, but look what we have created. We have created results focused, purpose driven, massive action plan. How great is that? Hey guys, I know you're a little bit overwhelmed about all these steps and all these items. They're going to be available to you and attached to this video, don't you worry. But just to make sure you understand what kind of journey we just take and went through, I just want to remind you where we're at right now by reminding you where have we start with. The first thing what we did is we have defined our main pillars of the dream life. We then figured out where are we at those pillars by creating the wheel of life. Now we know where we're at. Then in second step, we have learned how to capture and assign those captions to already created pillars of our life, right? That's how we have kind of the initial list on chunks of the things we want to focus on, and under those chunks we have the captions we have so far. In third step, we just learn how to create the massive action plan. Results focused, purpose driven, massive action plan. And how did we create it? Well, by first answering these three questions. What do we want out of life? Why do we want it? And what do we need to do now to get it? And then in second, and by the way, what these questions mean, in first question we actually define the outcomes and results. In second we define the purpose, and in third we define the to-dos. The second part of this step, the third step, is we have covered the actions now we need to take with those to-do lists. And those are, we have to figure out our musts, those 20% of the items which will bring us 80% of the results. We have to assign the time frame in order for us to understand how quickly we can actually execute them. And second of all, we have to think of the leverage which we need to and whom do we need to have within our plan for that to be executed as quick as possible. How great is that? And that is the essence of the life designing system, of the life planning system, guys. This is the essence, this is the core. We just have created and went through the whole process of planning your life, dream life, your life of your dreams. How great is that? I hope you feel that power, but we're not there yet. We have 3 more steps to go. I promise they're not going to be that time consuming and that big of the filled with a lot of material, but they still are important. We cannot just stop here because we only now have a plan. We have the items, we have them written somewhere, but they're not done yet. Now we have to get to the execution. So the fourth step of the whole process of building your life designing system and actually creating that and fulfilling upon that, because we just created the plan and we have to now fulfill, we need to do what? We need to commit and schedule. We have to commit and schedule, guys. In other words, we have now to put all those musts with their time frames, with their leverage description, or all those things which we've done for each pillar of our life. Now we have to actually commit to them. We have to put it in some place where they gonna be reminding us of themselves. We have to incorporate them into that system, whatever that system is and we're using right now, in order for us to actually get our attention and focus on them every single day. Because only when we're going to work with them every single day, we're going to be able to actually get to those outcomes and those results which we have defined. And without execution, without actually scheduling them in, we will not be able to do that. We will just forget about them the same way we forget about those traditional lists. But now we don't have any excuses to forget about them, because we just created the state-of-art plan, which requires one last thing: to be implemented, to be executed. And execution is going to be fun, I promise you, because you're going to come from the place of the purpose, from the place of the outcomes and results. And you're going to be competing with the time, because now we know how to get the shortcut and get from the idea what you want to improve and how you want to improve and what kind of change you want to make in your life, to the result and the outcome, and sometimes even skipping the activities in between. Think about it. So please schedule this and commit. I will show you my way of how do I do that. I literally use my calendar. I put the things in my calendar, and those things, by the way, they already have the time frame, so I know what kind of time slot I have to actually fill in them in, and I put them in on Monday, on Tuesday, or Wednesday, or this week, or next week, depending how much of the time do I need to spend on them, and I basically plan them out and I put them in my calendar. And the calendar is something which I look at and I start my day with, and I end my day with, and I go through the day with, and therefore they all the time in front of me, and I'm able to execute all of them, and step by step I get into my goals and outcomes. Okay, makes sense? I hope it makes sense. So this is the thing which we need to do in the fourth step. Now we have the fifth step. The fifth step is not less important than the previous ones. And as I promised you, they're not going to be that big, guys. They're going to be easy, they're going to be fun. The hardest part is behind us. But as I said, it's going to be hard, and you have to take more time initially, but then it's going to become your mindset. So the fifth step in this process of designing your dream life is to complete and achieve. The key word here is to achieve. You see, our goal is not to complete all those items on our to-do list. Even we have come up with those items through this brilliant process of creating the outcomes and results and attaching the purpose. Even then, we don't need to go and complete all the items, because this is not our goal. We are not to-doists, we are not achievers who achieve the to-do list, who are completing the to-do list. We are achievers who brings the outcomes and the results. And now just take a look and see whether, without even completion of some of the items, you might get to the results quicker. Always challenge that list. As soon as you work with that list and want to plan it out for your day or for a week, take a look at this list and challenge yourself once again, and see how you can even come up with something even better, which with the better leverage maybe, or other better, with the automation maybe, in order for you to actually achieve those outcomes and process and the results quicker and faster. And if you're going to come up with that idea alone might replace like 5 items on your list. You basically will not be needed to execute those items. You just execute that one new idea of yours, which will bring you closer to the results, or will get you that outcome and results which you want to get. How great is that? That's why you need not only complete the list, but execute and achieve. You have to achieve the outcomes and the results. In this system, this design planning system, this life planning system, life designing system is actually, as I said, is meant for you to sometimes even skip the activities and get to the outcomes and results without even doing them. How great would it be? Can you imagine your life and you have an idea and you have the system in place where idea can become the outcome and the result without literally doing any activities? Obviously you're going to be doing some of them, but not like a lot and huge list of the activities which you used to perform on, right? That is the fifth step. And last but not least, maybe one of the most important steps, the fifth step is celebrate. We gotta celebrate all the milestones, all our achievements, all our outcomes and results. Because why? Because celebration, again, brings up the feelings. It creates the emotion. And what is the emotion? It's energy plus motion. It lets us move and it gives us more energy. Why do we need more energy? Well, to get to the other outcomes, other results, to plan other things, to improve other pillars of our dream life, to keep going. We have this energy, we have to be energized, right? And celebration, that's what they do with us. They give us energy to do more, to strive for more, to achieve more of outcomes and results, not to-do list items. Okay? Here you have it. We have 6 magical steps which we just went through with you, with me explaining every single one of them, guys. And you now are in possession of this life designing, life planning system for yourself. You now are able to create any plans which you want whatsoever. You now know where you are at. You now know where you want to go, and you now know how to design and plan the whole thing out to get there as fast as possible. That's why I call the entire program a shortcut to a better life, because I'm introducing you to the systems, to the methods, to the strategies, to the thinking patterns and feeling patterns which will help you to cut the corners in a good way, which will help you to shave years of the learning curves of the making mistakes and go through trial and error. And by the way, now you are in the control. You are in the control seat. Now you know how to create your life. You are not this reaction to the life. You're not reacting to the life and, shifting your focus at all the distractions, at all the demands, at all the stress what's going on out there. By having this plan and creating the plan and going through the process and training those feelings and training those thinking patterns of actually how to get and achieve the outcomes and results which you want, it becomes your mindset. Now your mind will be only focusing on the outcomes and the results, and it will help you to get the outcomes and results of your life very quickly. And that is coherent, it goes together with my goal, my mission. What I want to help you with is to achieve any change, any improvement in any area of your life by actually going and doing it and understanding and learning those little shortcuts, little things which will make huge difference. Okay, you might feel overwhelmed right now, and don't get me wrong, I understand why, and I was in your shoes before. To make it better and to make sure you actually feel excited about that. And make sure the whole thing what I have introduced you to did not scare you off. We're now gonna switch to my screen where I'm gonna open my tools what I use for planning, and I will guide you through, and we literally will go the practicality, the practical way of how do I go through those all 6 steps and how do I create my life design system of how do I design my life, how do I plan my life in all the main and core pillars of my dream life. So I'm going to switch to my screen and let's go through it. By the way, if you are still overwhelmed and you want to get the briefer, you want to get the pause, just pause this video. Just, take a couple of days, maybe even. Go through the video once again up until this moment. Play with those exercises, play with those things which we have just went through. Create those main pillars for your life. Create this wheel of life. Create those captions, create that place for those captions. Start going through this massive action plan by asking you those questions and answering those questions for each pillar of your dream life. And then take those actions for all of those to-do items which you have came up with through going through the massive action plan process. And then what you do with that, start executing that, implement that, and schedule that into the places, into the things, into the tools, in the materials which you use on a daily basis in order to plan out your day, your week, your month, your year. All right? And go with it. And then come back and then go through that practical exercise and compare of how do you do that now, or how did you start to do that, or how did you imagine it can be done, and then compare it with my methods. And as I said, by the way, the chunking system itself, the system of designing your life and the system of planning your life is not the scientific system. It's the system of art. Now the question is, can it be done wrong? No, it can't, because it's art. We have to do it in our own way. We see the life on our own way from a different perspective. Therefore, we might come up with a different chunks of our life. We can chunk it up in a different ways, and that's completely okay. As I said, that system not created to actually for you to repeat every single step in that same particular way I have explained to you, but the system is made to create the concept, to introduce you to the concept, and actually instill with you and shift, make those little shifts and create the thinking and feeling patterns which will actually help you to get to your outcomes and the results a lot quicker, and put your focus only on your outcomes and your results. That's the goal, the main goal of that system. And I hope by not knowing the whole process, you know how to get to your goals and to your results. Now, let's switch to my screen and start going through the process from my perspective and go through the Life Designer system together with me. Alright guys, you now should be able to see my screen. On the screen, as you see, I have already opened my template. I'm going to be using this template to guide you through all those 6 steps we all need to take in order to build custom life designing and life planning system for ourselves. In other words, we're going to be creating the map, the massive action plan for our dream life. Before we start, I want to cover a little bit of logistics. You can still see me on this upper right corner in this little video window. I am right there and I'm going to be communicating with you from that spot. The majority of the time you're going to be seeing that template on your screens because I need it, and I go through that template and I show you what kind of practical exercises do I perform in order to build my life designing system. By the way, that template is available to you. You can easily download it from your membership area, and that video and the template is attached to that video. So you can easily open it up and you can also work with it and fill it up with the same way I am doing it with you right now in front of you, okay? If you want to do that, just do that. If not, just go through that practical exercise with me there and then download the template and work on that afterwards, okay? All right, I call the template Life Designing and Planning System, and the template consists of all the necessary elements, the structure and the figures in order for us to build that same massive action plan which we're all talking about. This template also has a lot of different worksheets, as I call them, right? And each of the worksheet represents actual step on this journey to creating the life design and life planning system. So we're going to be covering them step by step, clicking through them. And during each of the steps, each of the worksheets, I'm going to be explaining what do I do with that. I'm going to be also providing you additional information for you to understand the topic on an even deeper level. And then as a result, we're going to be having this beautiful massive action plan for ourselves, customly built by us for ourselves, for me and for you. Okay? All right, let's start with the first step. And by the way, what is the first step to actually start working on designing your dream life? If you remember, and I hope you do, the first step is to actually create and define your core pillars of your dream life. And we have already covered with you those two methods of how do you actually create them, right? So I'm not going to be covering them right now. The only thing I want to share with you is how do I work with those pillars and what are those pillars for me. It might give you an idea to actually maybe to improve yours if you have already created them, or to create yours if you have not yet created them. So as you remember, one of the rules in the journey of creating those categories and understanding and defining those pillars was to separate them into big two chunks. One of them is personal life and one of them is professional life. Remember, I told you I love to look at life as actually me having two lives, and this is personal life and professional life. And now we're going to be chunking them up. We're actually going to be using this chunking system, and I want to remind you a little bit about it. We're using this chunking system just to make sure we're not working on something very huge, which might easily overwhelm us, stress us out, make us anxious, and therefore we might procrastinate. For that, we kind of want to split and separate that huge area, which is our life, into the smaller pieces. We call them chunks. And then we're going to take each of the chunks, we're going to put our focus on them, we're going to figure out what the outcome and the result should be in that chunk we want, and then we're going to be figuring out what the purpose for the chunk is in order for us to get those results, and then we're going to be creating the to-do lists, the things actually we need to do in order to make sure we achieve those results and outcomes in this particular chunk. And if we're going to go and when we're going to go and finish all that process with every single chunk which we have for our life, as a result we're going to be covering the whole life. Sounds great? Okay, so in my case, guys, the chunks, the big chunks are the personal life, personal life and professional life, and then look what I got underneath them. Under the personal life I have health, wealth, education, love, happiness and fulfillment. Those are the most important things, the areas of constant improvement for me. You might borrow them and use them as well, or you might come up with yours, whatever you decide. Another one is my professional life. And my professional life at the moment at least consists of my businesses, which is my Better Life Academy, my Better Life Nutra. A little spoiler alert, I'm working on the new direction under this brand umbrella called Better Life. And obviously work and career. I want to work on that area as well. So as a result, I have this list in this sheet. These are my core pillars of a dream life. So for you, when you go and use that template, just make sure you achieve that goal. You actually achieve that outcome. And our outcome here of working with this sheet is the structure and the list of all main pillars of your dream life. Okay? All right. Next, what I have to say about these pillars. Well, you see, I have this only one level, right? And that's kind of looked easy, and I can start working with that. I think this level and this layout, what I have opened right now for you guys, it's a very good one for the beginners. Meaning, if you have never done something like this before, if you have never went through the planning process as it is, or other traditional or untraditional planning processes, I think this is the perfect layout for you. Meaning you have only one level, and this level is as follows right there on the screen, right? Though for those of you guys who think you are a little bit more advanced and you have done that kind of compartmentalizing, the chunking on that level, I want to offer you even deeper level. And that level what I personally dive into myself. And it goes as follows. I'm going to give you just a couple of examples. For example, for health. It's not enough for me that I understand, okay, so my personal life consists of health, wealth, love, and happiness. I now want to concentrate my focus on health, okay? And now I want to chunk it up. Now I'm not chunking up my life, but I'm chunking up my health. I want to understand on a deeper level what health actually means for me. I want to create bigger meaning, in order for me to be really motivated and go through any obstacles and problems and difficulties which I might meet on the way of achieving the great health, the greatest health of my life, right? So I have to figure out what the health for me is. And for me, health is physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. As a result, I got more chunks. But those are the chunks who now represent health, not the personal life. They kind of represent the personal life as well, but with the focus on the health, right? And if I want to go even deeper, and if you feel like you're overwhelmed a little bit and it is more complex, guys, you don't need to do that. You will come to that as soon as you're going to start using the system. You're going to be using it for like 3, 6, maybe 1 year, 3, 6 months, and maybe 1 year, and afterwards you might come to that structure right there. It's easy for me to go through that structure because I have used this system for 7 or 8 years already, and therefore it's simple and easy. For you, it will be might be a little bit more overwhelmed. That's why I suggested you start with this easy structure right there, and there's no more levels to it. But again, I want to share with you all the options which you have, and therefore I gotta introduce you to those levels. Another level, if I want to go dive in even deeper, on the third level, I might now look at the physical health, and I want to understand what the physical health actually means for me. What do I want to work on when I work on my physical health? And for me, it's my sleep, it's my diet, it's breathing and lymphacising, and sport and activities. So I think and I know if I'm going to cover these areas and I'm going to succeed in these areas, on the scale from 1 to 10, I'm going to be like 7, 8, 9, or 10. I know as a result of succeeding in these chunks, I'm going to be succeeding as a result in my physical health. And my physical health also going to have the score of 7 or 8 or maybe even 9. I'm going to do the same thing with my emotional, mental, and spiritual. And as soon as I'm going to succeed in them, as a result, I'm going to succeed in health as overall. And they're going to contribute to the quality of my personal life. That's kind of flow and that's kind of thinking I use when I work with those pillars. Let me show you a couple more examples and we're going to get to another step pretty soon. So wealth, for me, wealth, it's investments and how good of the investor I am and how good of investment ideas do I have. So then I start to compartmentalize, and even that I have to create another chunks for myself. What are the things what I'm investing in, right? And I'm putting for myself real estate, stock market, the precious metals, the cryptocurrency, core investments, and loans. Those are the chunks under the investments. And if I'm going to succeed in them, when I'm going to succeed in them, I'm going to be kind of covering and succeeding in this investment chunk of my good life, and my wealth is going to be kind of covered, and I'm going to be having this good score on the wheel of life within health. Another example, my education. Well, here I have 3 main chunks, which are self-learning, learning from mentors, and my personality, like exploring myself, I would even say, right? And then I go even deeper into details. What the self-learning for me is, well, I have to go to live events. I want to work around online programs and online different events. Mentors for me are the books and in-person mentors, and those are the chunks. As soon as I cover them, I focus on them, I come up with the outcomes and results within them, I then come up with to-dos, I execute those to-dos, I achieve my outcomes and the results, and I am successful in this particular chunk, and as a result, in education area of my life. Okay? Next one, love. Love for me is family, friends, and relationships. So in order for me to succeed in love, I have to work on my family, friends, and relationships and think in that kind of dimensions. Next one is the happiness and fulfillment. And here I look at my mission. I want to leave legacy, and I very carefully think about my contribution, because contribution is one of the sources of my fulfillment, and I want to be happy and fulfilled living my life. So that's wherefore I put this contribution under the happiness and fulfillment. This is for me. Your structure might be completely different. The main rule here is you do it under the personal life and under the professional life. Okay, let's get to the professional life. As I said, I have my business, which is Better Life Academy. I can just talk and look at the Better Life Academy as the whole business, but it might overwhelm me. So I might chunk it up even further. So what do I do with this? I chunk it up. I create chunks. And chunks for me, those are basically the areas, the departments, what all the businesses are built of. It's nothing new here. It's basically HR, IT, law and tax, finance, sales, marketing, customer support, production, right? I said there's nothing new here, but this new ideology here, guys. You see, in order to succeed in my business, in my project, and fulfill on my mission, I know I have to take care of all of these items, of all of these chunks. It's not enough just to take care of only one chunk. It's not enough to take care about only two chunks. I have to take the care about all the chunks, because all the chunks on this wheel of life, they create that circle, and how smooth that circle is depends how many areas of the life you are taking care of and working simultaneously on. If you're gonna only focus on one of them, it's gonna stick out of your wheel, and your wheel is not gonna be able to rotate smoothly and get you there where you want to go and get you fast enough with the speed which you want to go with, right? So for me, those are those areas. And as soon as I'm going to start working on my business, I'm not working on the Better Life Academy. I work at some point of my time, I work on HR, then I work on IT, then I work on finance. And when I work on them, I concentrate on that particular chunk. In this case, HR. I come up with outcomes and results what I want to get out of HR. I then come up with my whys. Why do I want to get those results? With my team, together with my team. That's why I said not only why should be applied for me, but why should be applied for the team. It's why for me and my team. And we work on that and we come up with the purpose. Why do we want to do that and get to those results? And then we come up with the to-dos. And then I know if my HR team, HR department works using that massive action plan strategy and methodology, I know I'm covering the chunk professionally and I'm going to be successful in the chunk. Then I go to the next chunk and I do the same there with the IT team. And then I do with law and tax the same thing. And as soon as I cover them all, and we all the time covering them all, we created this wheel of business and we roll this business forward and can go quick and fast. It becomes successful and we are able to fulfill on our mission, which is helping others to live a better life, right? Makes sense? I hope it does. Better Life Nutra, those same categories I want to take care of, those the same chunks. I have the same chunks for that because it's also the business and the project. Work and career though, I have industry, I have skills, and I have offers. Those are the things I want to think about. Industry, I want to make sure I work in industry which unleash my signature strength is the most possible way. Skills, I want to improve on my skills all the time. Offers, I want to consider different offers which come towards me related to work and the career. So this is another way, I mean not another way, the same way, but the deeper way of actually chunking up all your chunks. So you're not only chunking up your life, but then you come up with the chunks and you can actually chunk them up, depending on your abilities, guys, depending on your personality, because we have different groups of people here. Some of you are very structured and you like the order. So maybe you might like and you want to start with a little bit more complex structure like that. Some of you do not like the structure. You kind of flying a little bit more free and you want freedom, you want to open space. So for you, I suggest to use just this layout, which you see here on this picture right now on your screen. And that layout is going to be the good start. As you're going forward, you're going to be a little bit more proficient, you're going to be more skilled in that process, and you're going to be able to complex it, make it more complex at any point in time, okay? All right, so we have just went through that and we have covered one of the rules, which is splitting your life into the two, personal and professional. The second rule, if you remember, while you're creating these categories, those pillars, those chunks is to use the proper language. We have to put this emotional juice into the names of those categories. And by the way, I have not done it for you here in this example, just because I wanted to make it as simple as possible and you understand what actually those areas of life might be for you on the example of those names. But I want to assure you, when you work on that, you please maybe work with those standard names, but then juice them up a little bit. And to make sure you can do it on a very deep level and you have quite a bit of examples maybe. In other words, I want to help you out here as well. I put the list of actually categories of improvement which sound very juicy. Those are the juicy examples for you. Go for these examples, take a look at them, and they apply that way of actually naming them to your pillars of the dream life. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Extraordinary friendships. Not only friends, but extraordinary friendship. The juicy emotional name will trigger emotions within you. And emotions, as you know so far, they create our state. And depending on which state we are, we can perform in the different levels, in the different ways. And the most positive way we're going to perform on is when we have those positive emotions. So please name them juicy. Another example, creator of extraordinary life. You're not just working on your life, you're creating the extraordinary life. You're not just working on your wealth, you actually want to become the wealth wizard. How great is that? It sounds completely different. You feel like a hero. You want to be the wizard within the wealth department of your life, right? And from the professional life, you are maximizing your brand awareness, right? You're not just working on the brand, but you're actually maximizing brand awareness. It sounds completely different and it gives you different motivation. It kind of puts the even deeper focus on the thing what you are doing. So not only create this list as a result of this exercise, but make it juicy. Juice it up a little bit. Okay? All right. That's it. We just finished this step, this first step, which we call creating the pillars, core pillars of your dream life. Who remembers what was the next step? Yes, you are right. The next step within this first step, we're not skipping to the next step of those 6 steps though. The next step within this first step was to now use those pillars, use those categories, and actually build and draw the wheel of life. You guessed it. And remember, we need to understand what the wheel of life look like for us just to understand where we at life. Because in order to go somewhere and create this map of going somewhere, we have to understand where we are at the moment. So we have to actually evaluate and score ourselves in all those main pillars, those main chunks we have just created during this step. For that, I have created next worksheet for you, which I call my wheel of life. What I have done for you here is as follows. On the left hand inside here, I have put for you an example of the wheel of life and how it's supposed to look like. And we went through the procedure with you of how to actually create it. You basically draw the circles and you put the scores on the circles from 1 to 10, and then you split the circle in pieces where each piece represents this area of your life, the pillar, the chunk we have just created in the previous exercise. And when we name every single chunk with its name, which we have came up with in a previous step, then what we do is we evaluate and score ourselves. How do we do that? Well, I put a little help for you here. I put this question we all should ask about every single chunk, every single pillar, every single area of our life. How fulfilled do you feel with your performance in each of these areas of your life? And then you have to answer whether with the number. 1, not at all fulfilled, and 10 being totally fulfilled. And I also gave you a little different explanation of how can you actually ask yourself, what kind of different questions you can ask yourself to make sure you better evaluate every single of areas. As soon as you've done your evaluation, you put the numbers. Let's say in career you feel like 7. Then you put the number 7 here, and you got yourself this area which you fill in with the color of your like. Right? And then you do have all those steps with all the areas of your life. As a result, you get the wheel of your life. And now you know and see how smooth or not smooth it is. And now you also know the following things. What is your lowest scoring area? In our example here, the lowest scoring area for us is finance. It's number 4 here. It's score number 4, right? And then what is the highest scoring area? The highest scoring area, we have a couple of them here. We have career, we have attitude, we have social life, we have personal growth. So these are the highest scoring area. And these are going to be our benchmark. This is our milestone. This is our benchmark for other areas which have lower scores. In this case, we just, draw this line around 7, and we got that circle around 7. And now we see the gap in between. For example, for finance, in between 4 and 7, this is the gap. In between 6 and 7, this is the gap for health. In between 4 and 7, this is the gap for family. We get our wheel of life. And by the way, to play with it, I provide you with the template. You see the empty template, and you can go and put 4 or 8 different areas and pillars. If you have more or less, you just draw for yourself this wheel of life and you create as many pieces out of it as you want. But as a result, you're gonna have the same. You're gonna score all your areas of your life. What this wheel of life give us? Well, as I said, first of all, we understand what is the lowest scoring area. This probably, not necessarily, but probably will be the scoring area which we want to start working first. Or maybe it's going to be one of the most important areas of our life which we need to start working on. And then we have this highest score, which is our milestone, first milestone. As soon as we're going to improve those all areas and they're all going to be at level 7, then we're going to go expand them and go to the 8, 9, and 10 and choose the sequence in which we actually go in and which of the areas we start improving from 7 to 8, from 8 to 9, from 9 to 10, and so on and so on and so on. And by the way, last but not least, I don't want you to limit you to actually work with this exercise in only building the wheel of your life. I don't know if you have grasped it already, but you can actually create the wheel of your health. You can also create the wheel of your wealth. You just need to put all those chunks within the health or wealth or your relationships or whatever pillars of your dream life are, and put those chunks on that same picture. So for instance, for me, if I would want to create the wheel of health, I would just put my physical health, emotional health, mental health, and spiritual health on this wheel, and I would call it wheel of my health. And I would understand how smooth that wheel is for my health. How smooth of the ride do I have within my health? How smooth of the ride do I have within my finance? And I would also understand not only which main pillars of my life should I work on, but also which chunks of those pillars should I maybe start working first in order to make it smooth within this particular pillar. All right? Okay, I hope it sounds exciting, and I hope you truly going to invest your time and play with it because it's fun, guys. All right. With this, we have legitimately covered the first step of all the 6 steps of building a life designing system. Who remembers what was the second step? Well, the second step was the preparation kind of step. We want to shift this understanding of to-do list and terminology of to-do list. We want to shift it to the captions. We actually want to start capturing things, capturing our thoughts, our ideas, our conversations with someone. In order to do that, we want to create one place where we want to put all the captions in. And that place should have all those same categories, all those pillars of the dream life we have just defined, right? So here you have it. I have the third worksheet for you guys, which looks like that. And by the way, you can see it looks exactly the same way as it looked as the sheet number 1. Why is this so? Well, it's just because when it's empty, it only consists of our categories, our pillars. That's what you see on your screen. It's empty. Empty means I've never used it yet. Now I'm going to start using it. There are 2 ways how you start using it. The first way is if you have some captions or all to-do lists, you might just get them and copy paste them here. But not only copy paste just the one massive list, but just separate them out and assign them to these categories, those captions. Remember, the second step was capture and assign. So not only you learn how to capture your thoughts and your ideas, but you also learn how to assign them right away to one of the main pillars, main chunks of your dream life, which you have already prepared for yourself in that one source which you have selected. In our case, that source is that worksheet. That's why for now it's empty. If I would be working with that and I would just start putting the things into it, I'll be using it just as it is. Let's say I'm driving and I came up with this idea for my health. I want to start meditate. When I stop, what I want to do is I want to pick up my phone, and by the way, you want to have this system in your phone. You also want to have it on your laptop. Make sure it's always with you, because your thoughts and ideas come in very weird places, and you want to make sure you have your phone with it, because you want to put this caption into your system, into the massive action plan system, into your life designing system, which is this place what you see on your screens right now. So let's say I just got that idea, light bulb went on in my head, and I want to start meditate. So I just open up the place where I put my captions in, and I just start typing start meditation lessons. That's it. I forget about it, I close it. You might ask, like, how do I forget about it? Where I'm going to be using it later on and things like that. Don't you worry, we're going to go through the steps and you're going to understand the place in the system we're going to have in place for you. Never forget about this list. Just imagine for now you already have that system, and that system reminds you on its own about itself. Okay? So that's why you don't worry. That's how you actually empty your thoughts out into your system, into that captions list. And your head is still empty. Your head is full of energy. Your mind is full of energy to generate more thoughts, more ideas, and you can be and become more creative that way. So I just put this on my list here. Let's say I also want to learn some new things. For example, I want to learn something from the finance field, right? So I open my system, I open my source, and I want to put something under what? Well, probably education, because I have come up with this idea. I want to learn something new, right? And I'm going to put just the task for myself. Find out the programs which might help me to improve my knowledge of law, let's say. That's it. I type it down and I close the system. And that's how I accumulate the captions within my capturing system, the system I use for the captions. That's it. We're going to be coming back to it later on, guys. Okay? All right. Now let me delete these ones and show you an example of how it might look like if you have the deeper level. Okay? Let's take health. And on this deeper level for the health now, as soon as we enter something, before we were typing in under the health, right? Because we don't have the deeper. We imagine we don't have the deeper structure. But if we have the deeper structure, now we can type those things in, right into the smaller chunks. For example, I said I want to work and start meditate. That probably applies to the spiritual health. I think so. So I would then, if I would have this more complex structure, I would right away put that caption under that particular chunk. Learn how to meditate. That's it. I have this under that chunk, right? My emotional health. Well, maybe I had this idea to participate in one of the immersive events where I would strengthen my emotions, right? Maybe I should put for myself, find out all about live events out there to strengthen my emotions, right? I'm sorry if I am grammatically not that correct here. It's not about that. It's about actually using those tools which we have and which we're discussing right now. So in that way, I have those. Yeah, I might mark them like that just to see what my captions are. That's it. That's all what we need to do here, guys. Just find out what is the source, one source for you. Implement it in a way you put all your pillars in that, all the structure. Basically, it should be the same structure you created for yourself in this first step. And then what you do is just capture, just type in all your ideas, all your thoughts into that system under particular category. And that's what I call capture and assign. We just have accomplished and finished the second step. All right? Okay, sounds good. Next one. What was the third step? Well, the third step was massive itself, right? And that was super interesting, and that was the essence, the core of life design and system, as I said. And this is the step where we actually built the massive action plan, right? Do you remember what do we actually do? Well, during this step, we answer 3 questions and we execute 3 actions. We're gonna be doing just that with you guys. Before that though, I wanna go through with ideology and make sure you're not only imagining that in your head after my explanation, which I have provided you previously, but you see also visually how it might look like. And I have created this massive action plan template for you to kind of dive deep into the logic of how do we create this massive action plan on the smaller scale with one of our chunks. And then we're gonna get to the system where all our chunks are being put together. So let's imagine this is one of our chunks we have selected out of the list of chunks we have created in the first step. And for me, within the health, I have physical health. So let's take one chunk, okay? And that's what we did. Next, remember, we ask ourselves 3 questions. What were questions about? Well, one of the question was, and the first question, what do I want out of life? What is, out of that chunk, out of my physical health? It's very important. We are talking about the chunk now. We forget about life. We're not forgetting about life for good, but we forget for the moment because we want to put the focus on of this particular chunk, which we have just selected, okay? And for me, in this case, just for this example's sake, it's physical health. So what I do now with my physical health, I go through the process, the concept we have learned with you just now. I ask myself 3 questions. The first question is, what do I want? In other words, what is my outcome? What is my result? And I define it. And we're going to get to the definition a little later. What do I do next? Well, the next, I try to figure out why do I want that thing? I connect it with the purpose. That's why I have that here in this template, that aisle. And the last but not least, what we're going to do with that, we're going to create the actual massive action plan. We're going to figure out how can I best achieve it now? What should I do? What my to-do list, which is wrapped up in purpose and outcomes and results, right? All right, so let's take a look at the example. So I ask myself the question, what do I want in my physical health? And I define it. Well, I want make major progress. Remember, language and juice. Put the language and juice in this definition. I want to make major progress on my physical body. I just added some juice. And then I continue. My waist to shoulders ratio is 1 to 1.618. See how detailed I am. Remember I told you be as specific as you can be. Because if you're going to write down here, I just want to have more money, take $1 and you're done. It's $1 more than you have, but you probably want more. Maybe you want $1 million, maybe you want $1 billion. Be specific, okay? So that's how specific I am here. So now I know what I want, what my outcome. My outcome is major progress in my physical body, which is measured in my waist to shoulder ratio. Awesome. I also have the measurement here. Next, what do? Well, I ask myself, why do I want it? What is the purpose? And my answer is as follows. to renew the energy within me, to always be in the peak energy state and be able to spend quality time with my family. Just think about it. Think what I know about the physical and emotional state and what this state can actually do with me. Let me want that thing so bad, because I know that state will help me to produce a lot of energy. And energy comes from our physiology, and physiology is my physical health. So I want to improve my physical health in order to have limitless energy, because this limitless energy will help me not only work on my businesses and all this daily routine stuff, but after I come back home, I'm still full of energy to actually now invest my time and that energy into my kids, into my wife, into the things what I love and hobbies, in all those other things. So it's enough energy for everything, because I want to spend quality time with my kids. Do I want to steal this quality from my kids? Never. That's why this purpose becomes my emotional thing, which I wrap up my outcomes. And now I'm gonna do, and I'm ready to do anything to improve my physical health, because it's related to my kids and my family and my wife, and it's very emotional to me. You get it? That's why we need the purpose. And last but not least, now when I know what I want, now when I know my purpose and why do I want it, I start to generate the to-do list, the action plan. How do I get it? What do I do? And this is the example. Well, I need to go in for sport 6 times a week. I want to do cardio. I want to lift weights. I want to schedule some massages, to keep up with my physical health. Well, I need to buy sports shoes if I want to start sporting at all. And all those different things, right? But now they are all focused and come from the place of my what? Results and my purpose. And the good thing is I put it for you here just to remind you that the power of this massive action plan and the whole concept is that so many things and items can be grouped together into only few outcomes. And you're actually working on the outcomes. You're not overwhelmed by this 6 different items which you have on your to-do list, or you might have here 50. You're not overwhelmed. You're not supposed to be overwhelmed by them, because you only have to put your focus on your outcome and the purpose, and this is one item. That exercise, guys, we have to perform and execute for every single chunk, and as a result we're going to have the outcomes for every single chunk, we're going to have the purpose for every single chunk, and we're going to have the to-do list for every single chunk. And we're going to combine all that together, and as a result we're going to have what? The outcomes, the purpose in the to-do list for our entire life, because those chunks make up the life. How easy and great is that? I hope you understand that and you follow the structure. So now let's complicate the thing a little bit. In this view, you only see this process and the structure for only one of the chunks. Let's apply that structure for all the chunks at the same time. For all the chunks we have put for ourselves in the first step. As a result, we take this picture here, we apply our template of working with every single chunk, which we have just went through here, and as a result we get this picture here. The picture might look a little bit more complicated to you, but before you judge, just see what we got here. And we, by the way, have a little bit more of elements here. I'm going to be explaining them step by step. Well, as you see here, we still have our personal life and we still have our professional life. So we're still right on the money. We still have that same structure as we had in the first step. Next, we have our main chunks, which is health, wealth, education, love, and happiness for my case. And then Better Life Academy, Better Life Nutra, and work and career. We had the same in this list, so nothing changed here, right? It's not that complicated for, as we see here. And we have added the whole process. For each of the chunks, we have added our 3 questions. What do we want? Why do we want it? And how can we best achieve it? As simple as that. Not only we have added that, but we have also added right away 3 actions we need to take. Do you remember those actions? One of them was we now have to choose when we have those chunks and we have those to-dos. Then we'll be needed to choose what are our musts. For that, we have that piece of this puzzle. We call it priority. We will be prioritizing the to-dos which we're going to come up with, right? We're going to be prioritizing these guys here. Which one of them will give us and bring us more results, right? The next one, what do we do after we prioritize them? We create the time frame for each of the items. That's why we have their T letter here. It stands for time frame. And we're going to be creating the time frame again for each of the items, for each of the chunks. Make sense? And last but not least, you probably guessed it, leverage. We have to come up with leverage of who else might participate within our plan and help us to achieve that. Sounds good? As a result, we have this matrix here, worksheet, which we need to start working with right now. How great is that? This is the way. Now, I'm going to expand it to show you what is happening within it. And how do I start working on it is that I want to cover all my chunks, all the categories by going through my outcomes and purposes first. I don't want to even start working on the to-dos yet. Because remember, the life design and system, it's not only the planning system, but it's also the system of creating this mentality, of creating this thinking and feeling patterns, which then help you to create this mindset, which then will work automatically and be triggered automatically on your subconscious level and actually gets you from your ideas and your thoughts to the outcomes and results by skipping the activities in between. And I want to follow up that process. That means I still don't want to work on my to-dos yet. I want to cover all my chunks. I want to come up with all the purposes, all the outcomes and the results for every single chunk by following this flow which we went through with you. And as a result, I want to have this beautiful, wonderful whole picture map filled with outcomes and results and purposes. And then as a last step, I'm going to start creating my to-dos for all of them. Sounds good? Okay, let's do it, and I'm going to show you examples of how do I do that. Let's expand on my health. As you see, I have that same structure which before. I have here physical health, emotional health, mental health, and spiritual health. Nothing changed here. The only thing has changed is I have 2 extra columns which I work on my results and purposes. And I want to come up of my results and my purposes for each of the chunks. By the way, you might easily work only on health chunk, only one chunk, and you come up with the outcome for that chunk and you come up with the purpose for the chunk. And then you're going to be creating the to-do list for that one health chunk of yours. In my case, I have 4 chunks, and that's why I have 4 different outcomes and I have 4 different purposes in order to work with those chunks, right? Okay, let's take the first one, which is physical health. And by the way, at this moment, sleep, diet, breathing, sports and exercise and activities, they kind of being as filters for me, just to see how that list of mine to-dos, which I'm going to be creating in the future after I'm finished with my outcomes and purpose, might be filtered out. But right now, I pay my attention to my bigger chunks, which is physical health, emotional, mental, and spiritual. I take my physical health and I come up with the outcome. In this case, as an example, make major progress on my physical body. The purpose of it, again, we already went through it. I took that example from our template, from out of this very little and short flow, and I put to renew the energy within me to always be in a peak energy state and be able to spend quality time with my family. That's it for me. And then I go further. Emotional health. What is the outcome here? Well, for me, it's to learn to change my emotional state anytime I want. Because I know everything depends on my emotional state. My quality of life depends on my emotional state. And the better emotional state I am in, the better decisions I'm making, the better actions I'm taking, the better results and outcome I get. So I want to be able to change and improve that state anytime. This is my goal. This is the outcome. The purpose for that, well, to always be in peak emotional state and be able to focus and take massive actions, because the state helped me to take these better and massive actions. As simple as that. My mental health, well, make major transformation from disempowering beliefs to my empowering beliefs. And guys, this, by the way, is related to the things which we have already learned with you. Remember, we went through that exercise where we have learned of how to actually transform our disempowering beliefs to empowering beliefs. And I showed you with examples of my life how disempowering beliefs in my life have kind of made me procrastinate, and I made very bad decisions based on them. So my goal, therefore, the outcome is to major transformation in those disempowering beliefs and complete transformation to my empowering belief and shift towards my empowering beliefs, which will enable me to succeed in life in any ways I want. And the purpose of it is to never let my disempowering beliefs, formed in childhood, by the way, to impact quality of my present life and life in the future. How great is that? I know what kind of quality of life did I have, then I built it on top of my disempowering beliefs. And I don't want that to repeat itself. So therefore, trust me, that purpose, that understanding will lead me and will push me and will pull me, and I'm going to be motivated a lot, plenty, to actually do anything which I'm going to come up doing within my mental health. The same for the spiritual health. My outcome is I cannot stop my thoughts racing, and I can stop my thought racing and focus on the present. I want to be able to focus on the present, and therefore I'm going to be able to calm myself down, and therefore it's going to help to improve my spiritual health. And purpose of that, to always live in present, not past or the future, to be present, to enjoy the life in fullest. So that's what the process should be, guys. You now have created the outcomes and the purposes for all the smaller chunks, and as a result for the big chunks. That's what the health for you means. You put the meaning, you put the emotions, and you put the focus. You'll let your mind focus on these things. You see, I'm not even putting my attention and focus yet on the to-dos. To-dos comes last. They're not least, but they last. And they're not coming up on my radar here yet. Okay? Then what I do, I close that one and I go to the health. And I could not show you and leave you without example for each of those areas. So let's just go really quick over them. I'm going to leave this template as it is, and you might be able to read it after this presentation as well. So for my wealth, here, I didn't put my purposes and my results for every single chunk, but I have put it for my wealth as an overall chunk. And my outcome is, I have built passive income making machine, which covers all of my expenses for the rest of my life. How great would it be, right? And that's how I get my freedom, my financial freedom, my absolute financial freedom, if I want to call it juicy, right? What's the purpose of it? Why do I want that? Why would I want that? Well, to always do what I love, to have freedom of choice, to retire my parents, and to help all my family members and relatives and friends. Is that purpose good enough for me to stay motivated, to overcome all the fears, and go and execute all the to-dos I will put on this list later on? Of course. That's what the power of the Massive Action Plan process is. Let's skip to another part. Education. What do I have for education? Well, my outcome. I am a learning machine, and I invest at least 30% out of my savings into myself. We have covered that topic in one of our steps, where we have learned a lot about investing in ourselves. Good hour on the topic we spent, invested. So I'm not going to explain that today here. What is the purpose? Well, to always grow and feel happy and fulfilled, because as soon as you learn, and you learn a lot, you are growing, you're changing, and that makes you feeling happy, because growth triggers the happiness and fulfillment, and that's what I want to be, and that's what I want to get. And obviously also to spread my knowledge and good ideas and help others live better lives, because I have to improve myself in order to be able constantly help you guys, right? And I have to run in front of you, and I have to try it all out and then put it all together and present it to you, that way helping you. So that's for education. Love for my family, friends, and relationships. Well, I kind of put my purpose and my outcome for each of these areas. Family. Well, outcome. Our family connections are stronger than ever, and we all help each other grow spiritually and emotionally. How great is that? Why do I want it? Well, to never lose a sight with my family, because my family is the reason who I am today, and I want to give back and show my appreciation to them by always being with them, by always being that extra shoulder to them. That's the reason. How great is that? I so appreciate them, and they made me. They helped me to become who I am today, and I want to pay back. This is the reason which will drive me. It's my driver. Remember, we have the system, purpose focused, outcome focused and purpose driven. Purpose will drive me forever. Friends. Well, I always have people, I always want to have people to have fun with, talk to, and ask for help to. Why? Well, to create my self-select bubble and be able to grow within it and contribute to it. So I want to create this self-selected bubble, which consists out of my friends whom I learn from, and I can contribute to by teaching them and showing them and sharing them with them my experience. Relationships. Well, me and my wife, we are always, first priority for one another. Why? To keep our energy and increase it every single year, to keep up with our relationships, to keep the focus on our relationships and make sure our relationships getting better, not worse. That's love. Last in the personal life department, but not least, happiness and fulfillment in my mission. Well, I want to understand my mission, and I want to define my one-sentence mission statement. And by the way, we already have done it with you guys during the last step on this program, A Shortcut to a Better Life. Why did we do that? Well, to have a North Star guiding us, showing us the direction so we can apply it while doing and making those huge decisions in our life. The legacy. Well, in my case, I want to successfully pass this funeral test. I have at least 150 people coming to my funeral who truly appreciate what I've done for them and for the world overall. Why do I want it? Well, because I want to fulfill on my mission, helping others to live a better life. And that outcome will let me know what I have fulfilled on that mission. Contribution. Easy. I give more than I receive. This is my outcome. Why? Because I want to help others. And I also want to feel fulfilled on the highest possible level. And given, that's what's gonna give me that fulfillment. I hope you understand that, and I hope you know and see how it works. Professional life, couple of examples more, guys, and we're gonna get to the to-do list. Professional examples, HR. We have strongest team ever. It's not just a team, it's a family. That's my outcome, that's my goal. Why? Because I want to be able to fulfill on our mission and help our customers to live healthier lives, because we're talking about the Better Life Nutra, right? It's about the health now. It's not only about the whole overall life. It's a health, Nutra. So I want to be able to fulfill on that mission to help our customers to live healthier lives. How do I do that? Well, with the outcome. I want to have the strongest team ever, because only with this team I'm going to be able to achieve the results I want to achieve in that company, right? Sales. What is the outcome? We double our sales every quarter. What is the purpose? Why do we want to do that? Well, to ethically sell our product and give everyone the chance to live a healthier life. The more people we're going to introduce to our product, which we are so passionate about, the more people will be able to improve their health life. Therefore, we need to double those sales, because not for the double in sales sake, but just distribute and let more people know about ourselves. That's the purpose. And for that purpose, we're going to be understanding what kind of steps we need to take as an actionable items. That's what we do, and that's how we work here. In my career industry, well, the outcome, my chosen industry demands most of the signature strengths in order to be successful. Because remember, we're all about signature strengths, and I want to find the industry where I can express my signature strengths the most. The reason why? Well, to accelerate my success by using my signature strength in most efficient way as possible and get to the result within less time as possible. Skills. Made major progress on my tangible skills. This is my goal. Why? To stay in competition and produce the most value I can possibly produce, with me actually being as skilled as I can be. That's all. With that, we have finished that part of answering those questions. What do I want and why do I want it? And we put our full focus on the results, not on the items of to-dos. All right? Next step we're going to take, and I hope you're not tired, guys, here. If you are, and if you are overwhelmed a little bit, or maybe a lot, just click on a pause. Go over that video again. Go over those steps. Perform those actions and those exercises with your template. And then come back here, click play, and continue on this journey. Okay? But let's continue. The next step is to actually now start working on the massive action plan and creating the items, the things what we need to do now in order to actually achieve those results and fulfill on that purpose. And for that, we're going to be opening up the last worksheet in this template, which is going to represent and show us of how do we actually put the to-do items in. And we do it as simple as that. I have already done it, so we're not, losing a lot of time during this presentation. So that's how it looks like. As soon as I came up with my outcomes and my purposes, I now being able to generate my to-dos. And these red colored pieces of information here, those are my to-dos. I'm gonna go through them very slightly, very on a high level, just for you to understand. So for my sleep, well, I figured out I want to buy this Oura ring to measure my sleep, because in order to change something, again, I want to understand where I am standing at this particular thing. So I want to understand and start to measuring my sleep, and then I will probably be able to understand how to improve it, right? Another thing, I want to go to sleep and wake up at the same time, 7 days a week. Okay, I put this item for myself here. I then put for myself, I need to eat smaller portion of food 5 times a day. I eat less meat or more vegetables. I buy indoor trampoline in order to exercise breathing and actually go and practice emphasizing. I take 10 power breaths 3 times a day. I then also need to start running in order to improve my physical health. And I want to buy running shoes if I don't have them, right? That's all become my to-do list for my physical health, for this chunk, right? With this outcome and that purpose. As simple as that. And then I do the same thing for all other chunks. Emotional health. Well, 3 times a day, I need and I want to shift my focus, my mind, my breath, my emotion to the area around the heart. And that will help me to improve and strengthen my emotions. I will also start and end each day with practicing gratitude. That might help me with my emotional condition. And again, those to-dos, they are supported and wrapped up around the outcome which I want and around the purpose which I put for myself. I do the same with my mental health. I do the same with my spiritual health. Then I go and skip to my wealth. And I do the same here. In my real estate, well, I want to start investing in real estate as a starting point. Then I want to buy an apartment maybe. Then in stock market, I want to invest in biotech companies. This is a kind of more detailed to do for myself, right? Precious metals, I want to invest in gold miners, right? Cryptocurrency, I want to allocate some capital to crypto. This is the to do. I want to physically allocate some capital to that crypto, and so on and so on. Education, well, live events, attend to Dan Pena 1-week seminar. I actually put the actual to-dos. Those are real to-dos of mine, and we're going to be seeing them in a different source as well. I'm just going to introduce you to the application I use to actually create the whole thing there. But I use this Excel to go through and create my massive action plan. And attend London Real Estate Accelerator. There is the thing like that. Online programs. Learn how to create podcasts with Brian Ross. Books. I list the books which I want to read. In-person mentors. I create myself a task to create the list of all the mentors I want to be mentored by, and then maybe to create the plan of how to approach them, and then to create the message or the way I want to approach them, and that might lead to more to-dos, but overall it will help me to accomplish on my outcome, which is to become a learning machine and invest in myself at least 30% out of my savings. My personality, if I want to improve it, I want to take personal quizzes to actually figure out what is my personality. Love, well, family, find out top learning entertainment for kids. Find out the way to invite grandmas to live with me in the United States and be close to each other, right? Because I want to, what the purpose? I never want to lose the sight with my family. So I want to make sure they come and live with me here in the United States if they want to, obviously. My friends, call old friends, find them, invite them to do business with me, invite them to keep up with our relationships. In this particular case with my wife, create and implement daily ritual and routines with my wife, at least one evening only us. That's how I'm going to fulfill on my purpose to keep our energy and increase it every single year by establishing the daily and weekly and annual rituals. You can take a look at this to-dos a little bit later on. And then happiness and fulfillment, my mission. Well, create a life mission statement for core pillars of my dream life. We already have done with you that, guys. If you haven't, you still have this to do on your list, by the way. Legacy, come up with the ways to distribute your knowledge via mass media, because I want to fulfill on my mission helping others. And how can I help others? Just get myself out there and make sure I get introduced myself to a lot of people. Contribution, think of the ways to help others outside of Better Life Academy and start doing it. So think of more ways how to contribute to the outside world, to the people, to the whole world. You see that? My professional life. Well, let's see. HR. Hire the most talented people in the world who are passionate about the health. Why? Because only this kind of people will be able to fulfill on our mission and help us to fulfill on our mission to help our customer to live healthier life. And our outcome is we have hired the strongest team ever, and that is not only the team, it's the family. We have family-like relationships within our team. You see how congruent all those items are now when you come from the place of outcome and the purpose. And then sales, introduce cross-selling maybe for all the Better Life platforms, and start cross-selling in order to actually ethically sell our product to everyone and let more people and more people know about us. Work and career. Industry, well, define my signature strength, unleash an industry. Figure it out, what is this industry for me? Skills, start and participate in internship program in the company I work for. For example, I don't know, I want to suggest that I would rotate in between the department and work in each department a little bit and understand those departments better, and that's how I'm going to expand on my skills and become more what? Valuable. This is the purpose. I want to bring more value, so that to do will help me to actually fulfill on my purpose, and therefore to achieve and get to my result, my outcome, make major progress in my tangible skills. All right, we have just went through and answered all those 3 questions and understood the whole thing, hopefully. If not, just go over and over this video again. But this is not the last step yet, guys. We still on the 3rd step. It's not going to be that hard anymore, I promise. This is the hardest part we covered so far. But we gotta keep going, guys. We gotta keep going. We have to finish it up. So stick with me. Stay with this video. A lot of good stuff coming up. Next thing we need to do is to choose now our musts. Remember, we have to choose 20% of items, which will bring us 80% of desired results. So we use in this particular step, we use this column here, I call the priority. We now have to choose the priority. And now I just go over that and I just put what are the things I want to start my journey on getting to those outcomes with. And in this case, for sleep, I first have to buy the ring to start measuring things. For the diet, I maybe need to eat smaller portion first and then see the results, and maybe I can get to eating less meat and more vegetables, right? Of breathing and exercises and lifting, well, first I have to buy the trampoline, to start doing it and start lifting. Running, well, first I have to buy running shoes, but I want to start running right away. So let's, put this asterisk here as well. My emotional health, free time, shift focus, start, and I want to start on that. I think this is going to be more impactful at the beginning. So I kind of put this X here. Mental health, take all weekends off. Let's just do that, right? And it should be the same color here. And that's how I select, and that's how I make this first action. I select my musts. I actually sit down and I figure it out. What are the most important and impactful things and items on this to-do list, which will bring me 80% of the results, which will bring me to these results, which listed here and which I see and are in front of me. And I do that and I perform this action with every single chunk, with every single category which I have on my list, right? I'm gonna put it randomly right now here, just for the visual, to visualize that, just to have kind of the fuller picture. But I go and perform that exercise for every single one of these chunks, and also for obviously my professional life as well, right? Let's do that. So now we have understood what are those things. We have actually invested our time and we have put this all together. Right. The next step now we have to figure out the time frame. And as you remember, if we only do it in our head, we kind of overestimate it, and then we might get disappointed or start procrastination process because we think it's going to take us for too long and we don't believe in this process, and so on and so on and so on. So now we really need to think and understand how much time it's going to take us to actually execute that particular item. And for that we use that column, time frame. For that I put, okay, buy or ring. Well, it's probably like 15 minutes, right? I'm gonna put 15 minutes here. Eat smaller portion of food 5 times. It's actually gonna probably take me 0 minutes because I'm just gonna start doing it. There is no specific to do here, right? Or maybe there is to do to ask my wife to actually cook the food for me 5 times a day, or ask my chef, whoever I have, or cook myself. For now, I don't need to ask anyone else. I just am gonna start doing it, and it doesn't require any action. So I put the 0 minutes here. Next thing what I want to do here is to buy indoor trampoline, right? So how much time it's going to take me to actually buy the trampoline? Well, probably those same 15 minutes, right? Okay, so I put 16 minutes. I put those 15 minutes on top of that, and I get this thing going, right? Next, what I do? Well, start running. Like, actually start running. What should I do? Well, it's probably going to take me 0 minutes. I'm going to start running, right? But by running shoes is going to take me some time. Well, I think I will be able to do it within another 15 minutes. Okay? And that's how I go on and on and on and on. And I put all this time, start and end my day with practice and gratitude. Well, it's probably 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, because I want to do it twice per day. So I'm going to put 30 minutes out here, right? Take all weekends off. It's going to take me 0 time because I don't have to actually execute anything. You see, we might have a lot of different items which we don't need to actually spend time on at all, but the process which we went through already created this mindset for us, and we're going to be starting to do it, just the rituals and the habits, right? And then I do the same thing with all those items, with everything. I attend Don Pena 1 week seminar. 1 week. It's going to take me 1 week to actually attend that seminar. So I put here 1 week. This is the time frame for that particular thing, right? And then I want to read the book, Think Like a Monk. Well, how much time is going to take me? Well, I don't know, maybe 3 days, right? So I put 3 days. So this is my estimation. This is how I actually go and try to understand of how much time it's actually going to take me to execute each of those must items which will bring us 80% of the result. And as a result, I have this picture here as you see on my screen. Last but not least, what I do is I think of my leverage. Do I have any leverage? Can someone help me to achieve some or all of those items? Well, by ordering, I probably do myself. And if I'm putting myself, I just put M letter here. I'm going to do it myself. Eat smaller portion of food 5 times a day. Let's say I have a chef who cooks for me, and I'm gonna just talk to the chef and say, hey, instead of 3 times, let's do 5 times and make smaller portion, right? So it's gonna be a chef. Let's just put C here. It's gonna be a chef, right? Buy indoor trampoline, I'm gonna do myself. Start running, I'm gonna do obviously myself, and so on and so on and so on. So basically, I already at this point I try to brainstorm a little bit. It's not that hugely important, guys, to come up with your leverage right here and right now, but this is very healthy exercise to go through to actually understand what your leverage might be, because as soon as you're going to start execution, you're actually going to spend a little bit more time of understanding that. While you going through the planning process, you're better off investing the time right now, but it's going to take you a little bit less of the time as a learning curve. So I suggest you still think of that leverage and you figure out what are these people who can help you, or what is this way of automation maybe of how can we automate the completion of all of an achievement of one of those items which you have on the list. As a result, guys, here now we have the full picture. You now visually see the massive action plan into the action. You actually see it with your eyes. This is your life designing system, which consists of your chunks, personal life, your chunks as a health, and then it consists of answers to all 3 questions, and then it consists of the actions which you took by prioritizing things, assigning the time frames, and coming up with the leverage for every single items. Now we have finished this 3rd step, which is creating your massive action plan. I want to congratulate you. You went through just so important and critical process which will drastically help you to improve your life and succeed in your life. But that's not it, guys. It's only the 3rd step. We have accomplished the 3rd step out of all those 6. The next ones is going to be easy. They're going to be simple. I promise. They're going to be a lot easier than those. They're going to take us a lot less time. So stick with me. Stick with this video. Though if you're tired, just, close it up, put it on pause, work with that, wait up until tomorrow, work with the previous steps, and then get back, and let's continue with you on this journey to creating your life designing system. So what was the 4th step? Who remembers? The 4th step was, you are right, commit and schedule. Now we have this beautiful system. We have this beautiful plan with our results, with our purpose, with our massive action plan, with the priorities, with our musts, with the time frames, and with leverage. Now we have to put it somewhere which automatically will help us to get to it every single day, will automatically remind us. Those items should automatically be available to us, and they should sit in the place which remind about itself to us automatically. We don't even need to push our mind and create the thoughts around it. The system which we use, the thing which we look at, should actually bring us all that massive action plan in front of us and remind about itself every single day. My answer for that is calendar. I use calendar. You might use something different, and it's up to you. This is the concept. Not necessarily you should replicate everything what I'm talking about with to you today right now in the matter of tools. But you gotta understand the concept. My goal for you is to understand the concept. And by the way, the goal of this worksheet, what we have right now here, is to have to fill it out all of that and have the purpose. I mean, have the outcomes, have the purpose, have your to-dos, have your priorities, have your time frames, and have your leverages. This is the outcome of the step. Now let's transfer it to the place which will remind about itself to us every single day. And for me, this is calendar. You should see the calendar on my screen right now. And you see that my calendar have different colors. And this is completely different story, completely different topic, which I, by the way, will include in one of my programs in the Better Life Academy, but not in the shortcut to a better life. For this presentation's sake, I only need to show you this calendar just for you to understand the concept and the process of how do you actually transform the items you have just created into some place which reminds you about those items every single day. And for me, as I said, this is the calendar. What can be better? Just think about it. Our name of the fourth step is commit and schedule. Where do you actually schedule things? Well, I schedule things in my calendar. You see, I use calendar as a reminder. I use calendar as my guiding tool. This is my GPS. I just know where to start and where do we go, and my calendar shows me what kind of things should I do, when should I do them, for how long should I do them, and stuff like that. Obviously, before my calendar can tell me all that, I fill my calendar with the things which come from Massive Action Plan. You guessed it. And the only reason you can see all those items on my calendar already, it's just because those items, they already became my habits and my rituals. And I repeat them every single day, every single week. So actually, I already kind of eased up my life. I already made it simple for me and automated it and leveraged it. And I created all those events which are repeat themselves every single day. And I have actually made my process of using calendar already efficient because it's already have all the items which are my rituals. And now I have the free slots, time slots in this calendar to put the rest of the items of my Massive Action Plan. Before we do that, let's just dive a little bit into my calendar, just explain what I have here. Well, I have all the days I want to plan for, right? And then I have the time slots where my day starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. I wake up. Then what I do, I learn. Then what I do, I prime. Remember, I had one of those tasks is to practice gratitude. That's what this task actually says. Igor, practice your gratitude. Then I have this weekly meeting with the person. Then I actually create the social media plan for a week, every single week, and it's so important for us. I even mark it red. And then I do what? I do the power breaths. Remember, I had that I had the task of doing power breaths in one of my to-dos right there. Take 10 power breaths. I already have it in my calendar because I'm using it already. I'm doing power breaths. Then I make sure I spend time and invest time in investing. And then I rebound for the lymphosizing and stuff. And then I do the more power breaths. And I have my lunch. And things like that, right? So I have all these items, but it's not about these items today. It's about the items which we are about to transform. So what kind of items do I want to transform out of this list, you might ask? And by the way, when you have put the priorities for all of your items, you might have too many of them. And which still you might get you overwhelmed a little bit. You will like, oh my God, I have still so many items. Though I put only 20%, I selected only 20% out of them, still as a result I have too many of them for 1 week. That's okay. You now have this opportunity to select which items you want to start working in and which items you want to be transferring to your calendar. My answer to you is as follows. First of all, you take a look on your wheel of life. Which areas of your life should you improve the most? And that's what helps you to select those items. You come back to your plan, you see which area was most important. Let's say for me it would be physical health, and it got the least score. It's the lowest score out of everything, right? So right away I know, okay, I definitely want to do something about this chunk, about this piece of my life within this week, which I'm trying to plan. So therefore I definitely want to select something from this. Nice. Next, what I select? Well, next I will select the items which will take me the least time, because those items, they are already the ones who will bring me 80% of the results. So each of them will get me closer to my outcome. So I might as well select something which takes less time, because that thing might help me to actually, by executing that thing, might help me to get to the outcome, and I might not even perform and execute the other items on my list which were not that important during the process of prioritization. You see what I'm talking about here? So let's say, okay, I need to buy Oura Ring, and it's going to take me 15 minutes, and I think that's important. I take that item, I go to my calendar, and I physically plan it out, and I plan it for 15 minutes. Right? 2:15, and I save it, and I have it right here. I mean 1:30, 1:35. I have to. It's 1:45, 15 minutes, right? That's it. I have covered that time slot in my calendar. I then go and I do the same. Okay, what is the next item which I want to use? And the next item would be on my list, for example, buy running shoes, right? Okay, I take that item, I go to my calendar, and I put this item as the next one. And that item would take me 1:45 to 2 o'clock, right? Another 15 minutes. Safe. I have put another item on my list. I mean, on this day, on Monday. And that's what I'm going to do on Monday. And you perform this action with all the items on your list, with the ones which will probably give you the most impact on your wheel of life, on those areas which you have the lowest score. And then those items which will take you least amount of time. And you try to fill out this calendar in the way it becomes all filled. You don't have any free time slots, white spaces here on this calendar. And that's how you actually build your day and you build your week. And it's not about your calendar, it's about transformation. It's about this process of you taking the things out of your massive action plan and putting them into the place which remind about them to you every single day. And for me, that is the calendar. And as I go, by the way, through the day, I complete those items. And those items, I complete them by changing the color. Remember, not only completion, but achievement is important, but I still complete them in that calendar. If I'm gonna complete them, I'm just changing the color. This color for me means completed. You probably have this question of curiosity. Why do I already have some items which are completed? It's just because those items already became my mindset and I don't even think about them. And for me to actually ease up the process and don't go over all those items and change the color of them, I already put them in that color because they are happening automatically for me. The rest of the items I still have to work on and I'm working on. Therefore, they are there on my calendar. And now imagine you start each day or each week when you already know what kind of things you're going to do, which thing going to go first, which thing and event going to follow next, how much time do you need to spend on that event. And by the way, it's not necessarily you need to spend 2 hours. If I'm going to finish up this particular event quicker, I'm going to be better off. So my goal is to actually execute it quicker. Therefore, I might do a little bit more during this day, right? And I fill up all that. And as soon as I come to an end of the week, which is Friday, look what kind of time slot I have here. Next week planning. Here, what I do is I take a look at all of my items which I have accomplished. And by the way, just to give you an idea how accomplished calendar look like, it looks like that. I have blurred the whole picture just, to make sure you don't see all the stuff which I have there, because a lot of information is confidential, obviously, but I want to get the the better feeling of how actually calendar will look like in the end of the week. So for me is that you see every different chunks and pieces of those to-dos which I have actually executed every single day, and as soon as I have executed them, I have marked them as completed, which for me is this blue color, right? And that's in the end of the week, I have this blue color in my calendar and I feel accomplished. I feel this excitement because I've done a lot of stuff. But at the same time, obviously, I will have items which I did not finish. I will have items which were not done by me during this week. Where do I put those items? Well, I keep them in my massive action plan because I took them from here. The only thing what changes for me, as soon as I accomplish my week and my week actually looks like that, what I do, I go and I find all those accomplished and achieved items on my list and I just change their colors. I do this exercise here. I'm just gonna show you really quickly how does it look like. I just change their colors like that. That's it. That's all I do. But visually, guys, this is the visual system as well. Visually, I see what I have done, and that visual picture makes me satisfied. Satisfied in the end of the day, satisfied in the end of the week, because you want to finish your day and finish your week feeling fulfilled, feeling happy, and you only can do that when you see you have actually accomplished something. Therefore, I just visually change the color and I see, oh my God, I have worked on these items. Look, I accomplished two items for me to get to that outcome, to make major progress on my physical body. Oh man, that week was successful because I just got one step closer to accomplish my goal. In this case of my emotional health, I also have accomplished half of the thing because I only have 2 to-dos to be on the way to learn to change my emotional state at any time I want. That's my flow. What I do on Friday, I already told you, I now open up my next week, right? This is the current week. I open up my next week, which already have all those rituals and habits of mine already pre-selected and pre-made, and now I get back to my massive action plan and I see what is left. What are the red items which I have not done yet? And again, I challenge myself. I take one chunk, which is health, and then take a chunk which is physical health, and now I challenge myself whether my priorities are straight. Whether now, after the week has passed, I might change those priorities. Maybe now I feel that the different items might actually impact my results even more, and I might add extra items, or I might change the priorities. Maybe for me now, not these items that important anymore, but that item. And I take this off and I put that for that item. And I go for that process again. And I challenge the timing again. And I challenge the leverage again. But I do it only once in the end of the week. And on average, it takes me, as we see here, like 1 hour and a half. 1 hour and a half to go through that mind map, to go through that process, because I already have created it. As I said, initially it's going to be hard. Initially it will take a lot of time, but then it's going to take you only 1 hour and a half to actually plan out the entire next week to work on the main and core pillars of your dream life and actually designing it and creating it. How great is that? What can be greater? What can be simpler than that? Well, I don't know. So on Friday, I challenge myself, and then again, I select those items I want to start working on, and I transform those items into my week. And I fill that up. And that's how I get my next week. And as soon as the Monday comes, let's say it's 1st of March, 2021, I don't think what to do. I don't spend time of understanding what should have been done and what my whole life is and what would I improve in this life. I just start execution because the calendar shows me what to do, when to do, and for how long to do that. And in the end of the day, I am being satisfied because I color my things and I see what I've done. And I also color my things in my massive action plan template here, and I also see how many things I have done. And step by step, every single week, I am grinding forward, and then as a result, I accomplish my outcomes. I get to my outcomes and my results, and I fulfill on my on my purpose, and I create the life what I want. I become the creator of my life. That's the process. That's the process, guys. So we have just accomplished two things, guys. We have committed, we have scheduled it, right? We have just scheduled it. And also what we did, it's a fifth step, by the way. The fourth step was to commit and schedule. So I do it in my calendar. I take the item and I transform it to my schedule and I start execution within this schedule. And then the fifth step, what was the fifth step if you remember? The fifth step was, you are right, complete and achieve. How do I complete it? I complete it in my calendar by changing the color. I achieve it in my calendar by changing the color. I go back to my massive action plan and I change the color here as well. And then I plan to myself in the end of each Friday to go over my massive action plan step, which is the third step to creating your life design system, and go through that third step once again and create that cycle and challenge myself on the priorities, challenge myself on the time frame, challenge myself on the leverage, and then use those results of those challenges to fill up the next week. The week which will consist of all the things which are my habits and rituals and the things which are my core pillars of a dream life. And I'm going to be executing them and achieving all those outcomes and results I want out of life. How great is that? We have just covered, guys, the fifth step, which is complete and achieve. Once again, one last time, that's how completed and achieved week looks like in the calendar. If you use different tool, you do that, but make sure you see visually what and how did you complete and achieve the things. Okay? All right. Last but not least, you celebrate. You celebrate every single day. You celebrate every single week. You celebrate every single green colored item on your list because that will give you energy. And you need this energy to do that same thing once again next week, and then the week after next, and then the week after next, and every single week by week, day by day, hour by hour, you build your life out of the design which you have created with the help of this life designing system. How great is that? Hey guys, in the end of this presentation on my screen, I wanted to share with you really quick my system which I used to actually plan out this entire thing. Well, I used this Excel and I started with this Excel. I started with this template and with these worksheets. And for all the means, please start with this Excel. Work with it, work with the template, train it, make sure it's becoming your skill. And then you will be able to implement it with the more complex and more complicated and sophisticated tools. I'm going to give you just a quick example, a little glance of how the whole thing can be actually modernized and automated and with the usage of the modern tools. For that, I use Asana. Asana is my task management system. You see, I built the massive action plan within this template up until this day. I come up with my outcomes and I come up with my purposes, which we've done during this step here. We didn't have any to-dos here yet. I come up with my outcomes and my purposes within this template. I am not using any other tools, don't get me wrong. But as soon as I know all my outcomes and my results, what I'm striving for, and as soon as I know the purpose, why am I doing that, I generate the to-dos here in that template, and then I put them, before to put them into the calendar, I actually put them into my task management system. And as you see here, I do the same thing. I have my health chunk, right? For 2021 in this case. And I see I have my physical health, the same chunk we had on that Excel, right? And then I have sleeping. And then I have dieting. Remember, I had diet. And then we have breathing and emphasizing. And then we have sport and activities. And then we have checkups and safety, some other new categories which come up here. And then I have emotional health. And then I have mental health. So I have that same structure. Remember I told you, if you have another place where you put your captions in, you gotta have the same structure as we have created in this template. I follow that rule. Next, what I do, I create the to-dos by following my outcome definitions and my purpose definitions. I create my to-dos for every single chunk, right? And I also might have some sub things in those to-dos. That's up to me. That's how deep I want to go with the whole system, and how deep I want to work with it, right? And I do it with every single category. And as you see, I also have here love and happiness, all those same chunks, right? And I have relationships with my wife, with my one daughter, my second daughter, with my whole family, relationships with my friends. I all have that. And by the way, those are the chunks, and this is the system. I want to complicate it for you. I don't want to complicate it for you, but it's gonna sounds like I'm gonna I want to complicate it for you. I use that to plan my entire year. And then, you know, when they say you have to put your New Year's resolutions. Well, resolution do not work. You know that, and the reason they not work because we start to put them in with this question what we need to do. But resolution work, and the plan is working when we ask completely different questions and we go through the process of actually creating and using Life Designer System, which I use here. So you can apply that not only for a week, but you can apply it for a year. Who said you have to plan for a week? You can plan for a year. So I come up with the chunk, which for me is love and happiness, and now I have sub-chunks in the categories, and I come up with all the things which I want to do, not limiting myself with the week, not even limiting myself with the year. And I come up with so many things, and I realize that I'm not going to be able to do all of them throughout the year. So I now have to choose what? My musts. And that's what I do. These are my musts. You see, 2001 must do. So I select my must from every single chunk which I am planning for the year. Those are my musts. And I go through each of the chunks like that. I'm not going to dive deep into the system, guys. You might have a lot of questions here, but it's not about that today. It's about possibilities, right? And as a result, by the way, as soon as I am done of defining the whole year, of planning the whole year, and assigning those musts, I then get all of them in one place. As I told you before, this is my one place. This is my capture place where my captions live. And the place repeats the structure: health, wealth, love, happiness, education, it's E, investments, it's I, and so on. And I then select, in this system, I select the due dates, meaning the time frames. I select assignee, by the way, and that is my leverage. Who can help me with? In this case, it's my wife. I actually literally put my wife on this plan because we are working on that together, right? And I assign it to her. I find the leverage, right? And I find the priorities. And priorities basically for me in this project go from top to bottom. I put the order which basically repeats the priorities. So whatever is at the top is the most important to me. That's how I kind of realize my priorities in this project. As a result, here I have everything. I have my purpose, which comes from my massive action plan. I have my outcomes and results, and I have my to-dos. For to-dos, I actually have my priorities from top to bottom. I have my leverage, which in this case, as an example, is my wife, who is helping me in a lot of those different things. And I have my time frames, by which date, by which day, by which month the whole thing should be done. And in this case, it's Sunday, right there. Okay? And then I take these items there and I fill up my calendar with all those items. I didn't want by any means to complicate your life with showing that other system. Let's just make a deal. Forget about this other system. It might sound complicated. Stick to the template which we have just went through with you. All these steps. We have created our pillars. We have then built and drawn our wheel of life and understood what are the lowest scoring areas and highest scoring areas. We have created one place where we put our captions, which also have that same structure with those same pillars of a dream life for us. We then went through and understood how do we go about every single chunk and how do we come up with the outcome, with the purpose, and then with the to-do for each of the chunks. Now we have combined all the chunks together and created the environment for ourselves where we now can go over every single chunk and come up with all the outcomes and all the purposes and focus only on them. And as soon as we done that, we then jumped on the last step where we have created our items, to-do items. We have assigned priority to them, we have time framed them, and we also thought about how can we leverage them. And the next step what we did is we found out the place, in our case it's calendar for this example's sake, where should we transfer all those items in order for them to remind us about themselves. It might as well, by the way, be that template. If you want to plan your week into that template, use the template by any means. I use my calendar and I transform my items into that calendar. And then every single day I execute those items. In the end of the week, I have this calendar of executed items looking like that. And also in the end of the week, what we do is we are planning our next week by coming back to our massive action plan template and marking all those tasks and to-dos which we have already done, and then again challenging ourselves on the priorities, on the time frame, and on the leverage for all the items which are left and still in red color in all this list of these items. And we repeat the same activity. We fill up the next week with the most important items for us, which come from most important areas of our life with the lowest score, and which come from our priorities, and which come from the place with the least time we need to in order to execute that item to actually get closer to our outcome and our result. Guys, I might understand it's still overwhelming, but I'm not going to get tired to repeat. Go over this video once again. Get proficient in that. Work with it for 2 to 3 months, because on average, as some of the studies show, we have to have and go through something for 66 days in order to shift our mind, in order to shift our thinking patterns. So please, adapt that system to your own needs. Learn the concept, not necessarily. You might even use the different template for yourself. The thing is, you know what are those 6 steps are now. You know what the essence of those 6 steps. You know what the purpose of those 6 steps, and you know now how to use and go through all those 6 steps, and what are the outcomes of every single step. And as a result, you have fully built your life designing system. You have fully built this map of how you're going to go from your ideas and your thoughts to your outcomes and the results, which I call massive action plan. The plan where all the to-do lists, all the to-do items are wrapped around the outcome and in purpose. In other words, outcome and results focused, purpose driven, massive action plan. And I want to congratulate you right now. You basically have graduated that course named Massive Action Plan, named your life designing system, named life planning system. You have just created it for yourself. Enjoy it and start living it. As for me, we're going to be switching the screens right now to the bigger one. You're going to see me in the full, and we're going to be wrapping up with this whole step, which we call life designing or planning system and the power of planning. Okay, let me switch the screen. All right, and we are back on the big screen. Now you should see me on the big screen, guys. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the practical guidance what I just gave you by going through the process, actually creating and designing my own life. I just shared with you my tools, the environments, and the logic and a decision-making process which I go through by actually creating and using the life designing and life planning system in my own life. And we went through all the 6 steps, we talked about them, and I showed you my practical application of that knowledge. Guys, I hope you understand how important that lesson is. You know, that's why I said this is one of my favorite, and I said that this is one of the most important lessons out there, and I truly believe that. And today, let's just conclude. Let's just keep our tradition and conclude what have we learned, because we have to celebrate today, because we went through so much. We have practiced and did so much. We have understood so much, and we have to be doing yet so much. So therefore, it also requires a little celebration, okay? Before we celebrate though, let's conclude what we have learned today. What have we understood today? Well, first of all, we have understood that life designing system, it's actually the system which is built on top of this unique and untraditional planning process. And the planning process actually helps us to get to the outcomes and the results a lot quicker. And by the way, it also learns and teaches us how to put the focus on the outcomes and the results, not on the activities. The next thing what we did is we answered this answered this one important question. Why do we actually need to make a plan? Why do we actually need that life design system, life planning system for ourselves? What is the purpose of it? And I gave you 2 answers for it. The first one, because our focus. Because focus actually the most valuable treasure in our life. And as we want to make sure we focus on the things which we want to achieve in our life, meaning outcomes and results. If we don't have a plan, some kind of distraction or something around our life like stress and anxiety and anything else can actually shift our focus on something which is wrong direction, which is not going to lead us to the outcomes and results we want out of life. As a result, as focus is so powerful, it will become our reality, and we're going to live in this wrong reality where our outcomes and results are not possible by the nature. All right, so that's why focus is very important, and that's why planning is very important. It brings and puts the focus on the things we truly truly important to us. The second answer to that same question is by planning, we actually understanding who do we need to become, what do we need to create of ourselves in order to actually be able to achieve all those outcomes and get to all those results which we want out of life, and that is huge. Okay. The third thing what we have learned is that life designing system is not only life planning system, though it is, but it also creating the thinking, help you to create the thinking and the feeling patterns, which you then use to actually get to the outcomes and the results a lot quicker. And it basically becomes your mindset. How powerful is that? Then we also learned that the life designing system actually also the system of language. We gotta name things properly in order to create emotion, to create the state out of that emotion, and that state will let us come up with the better purpose, better to-do list, and will bring us to the better results, better achievements, better outcomes. It's also the system of focus, as I said, right? It's also the system of creating your core pillars of your dream life. So it's system of a lot of systems, and we went through all those systems today, all those steps, all the elements, and now you have in possession all of them in the case of this video, with all the supporting materials, the worksheet, the systems which I have shown you. Another thing which we learn about Life Design System is that it's going to be hard to use that initially, and then it's also gonna take you more time comparing to the traditional method of planning, if you even use them at all at the moment, right? But it's worth doing it. Give it like 2 to 3 months, and within this period of time your mindset will change, and your body and your mind will focus only on the results and the outcomes. How great would it be? Which brings me to the next and last point about the Life Design System, what we have learned about Life Design System itself. The Life Design System actually helps you to skip so many activities and get you from the idea and a thought in your head to the outcome and the result what you want within shortest period of time, within shortest way of how to get there, which is very consistent with the whole program we're going through with you, A Shortcut to a Better Life. That's the program which will help you and also helps you with today's example, today's step, to shave years and years of the learning curve, of the trials and errors, and all those other things which are not necessarily to do and go through in order to achieve your outcomes and results. And literally that system which you got in possession today with this knowledge, with the tools and systems which we have introduced you today, that system will literally help you to get from the thought to the result and the outcome without even executing any activities. Well, a little remark here, you're obviously gonna need to do some of the activities, but you will be able to skip the majority of them. Do not waste your time and energy on them, and actually get to the ones which are most important. How great is that? As a result, that Life Design System, guys, will help you to understand what is the massive action plan for you to get from the point where you're at right now, which we also worked on, and we have created the wheel of life for ourselves, to the destination which you want to get, which is your mission statement, which we have created in the last step, or your result and outcome, which we have created in today's step by going through the massive action plan. Sounds good? And then as a result, we created this design, this map, and we have went through the 6 steps of how to actually create this design. The first step was to create your pillars of the core pillars of your dream life. The second was to learn how to capture, not create the to-do lists, and put them in one place and manage them within your core pillars of your dream life. The third was to actually create the massive action plan by asking ourselves 3 very powerful questions and getting to the 3 very powerful actions. The fourth was to actually commit and schedule. The fifth was to achieve and not only complete. And the sixth was to celebrate, to get the energy. You see, the whole process is pretty simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Give it a time and you will become the life designing machine, life planning machine, and you will be results and outcome driven machine. Because remember what kind of plan did we just create? We created result focused, purpose driven, massive action plan. That's how we're going to be planning from now and on, and we're not going to be using any other ways of planning our life. And by the way, not only our personal life, but also the professional life. Okay? As a result of it, guys, do you feel what just happened? With these tools, with this knowledge, you have all the chance, and you already are the creator of your life, not the manager of your circumstances. You will not react to life anymore. You will become proactive. You're going to be creator of your life. How great is that? I hope I fulfill on that mission, on my goal, because that was the goal today, to give you the concept, to shift your mindset, to give you the thinking and feeling patterns to be used in order to get to any outcomes, any results of your life. I hope you loved it. I hope you enjoyed it. And now get to the last thing on our step. And let's keep with our tradition and go to the homework. You thought I forgot? Obviously not. We gotta go through the homework, guys. We gotta make it happen. And by the way, this homework might be big, meaning you gotta do a lot. Don't forget about chunking system. You're gonna do that in chunks, right? You're gonna do it in pieces. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna list the homework what you need to do right now. It consists of like 9 different steps. The homework, those steps can be your chunks. Concentrate your attention and focus and put and invest in time in every single one of them. And as a result, you're gonna be able to achieve your outcome and result, which is to fulfill on that homework. And by the way, if you need a couple of days, take them. If you need a week to working on that, take that week. Don't rush. Don't go into the next step before you finished properly that step, before you created the life design and plan for yourself. Trust me, you want to stop here, you want to invest your time here. And then you can continue your journey to making your life even better, because I have similar strategies, similar tools, similar methodologies, and similar experiences to bring to the table to actually equip you with all the necessities which you need to create any life what you want, with no limitations, with no boundaries, with the guarantee. How great is that? Okay, let's get to the homework. Well, first chunk for you, create and define the core pillars of your dream life. Go through that process which we went. Ask yourself questions and come up with those pillars. Don't forget to name them juicy, emotionally juicy. It's very important. The next step what you need to take, the next chunk, second chunk for you within this homework is to come back to those steps which we had practical exercises which required us to look at the things through the prism of those core pillars of our dream life. And I know we haven't defined them back then yet, but I made it and did it on purpose because I didn't want you to pay attention to that process of defining the pillars yet. I wanted you to work on all those things which we worked on, like beliefs, like identity, like our emotional state, and all those things, right? Though now you might want to come back and see how you might adjust them now, because now after today you know your pillars, you know them very precisely, and maybe you have adapted to those previous exercises, and maybe you can, and it will, by the way, will help you to come up maybe with the better outcomes and results than you had before, because now you have kind of focused on those pillars. So put those pillars into those exercises and see if you have to go over them again. And by the way, don't get upset because of it, because repetition is the mother of all skills. And I packed the program with so many things which definitely will help you to understand them, learn them, and practice them and implement them in your life if you're going to go over them a couple of times, at least 3 to 5 times, I'm telling you, because you got to keep that program with you. It should be your guidance. It should create the momentum for you. But for you to actually be committed, keep this program very close to you and go over every video or some of the videos on a particular topic and the situation you need the help with in your life. Come back, watch it, learn it, and go forward. All right? So don't be upset about coming back and actually adjusting it with your new set or maybe updated set of the good pillars, of the core pillars of the dream life. Okay? Next thing what you need to do is to create the wheel of life for yourself. See how smooth it is. Score all those pillars of the dream life for yourself and understand where you are. Where are you starting right now? Okay? The next one, create the place where you're going to be putting all your captions in and start practicing this capturing process. Click, take a picture, capture it, and put it in that place. Create that place, only one, and supply it with those categories which represent the core pillars of a dream life for you, which you just came up with by going through that exercise. Okay? The next one, create the plan for all those pillars, massive action plan, by asking yourself 3 questions and taking 3 actions. As a result, you're going to create for yourself the plan, which is going to consist of the things what you want to do, outcomes and results. They're going to have the purpose and they're going to have the to-do list. But you're also going to have 20% of them, which are going to bring you 80% of the results. You're going to have the time frame for each of them, and you're going to be able to leverage them and share with someone in order for you to for them to help you to achieve any of those outcomes and results for yourself. Okay? All right, next what you're going to do is to commit by scheduling them actually into your system, in the system or the tools you use to actually schedule and plan out your day, your week, your month, your year. You have to implement it, incorporate that into your system, because you have to meet those items every single day and you have to work on them every single day. And don't forget to challenge yourself and see if you can come up with even better items which will get you to the outcome and results a lot quicker than those items which you have already on the list. Challenge yourself each time you look at that list. All right? Then just start executing them and then complete and achieve. Don't forget about the achievement and come up, as I said, with ways of how to achieve that even quicker than to completing the list of to-dos which you have previously created through the massive action plan process. And that's going to be the great feeling of joy, because you actually get to the results while skipping a lot of activities in between. How great is that? That's how we fulfill on that mission. That's how Better Life fulfill on that mission to help others to live a better life. In this case, to create the legit shortcuts which will get you to your results a lot quicker. And I hope I was able to prove it to you with this method, with this knowledge, with this experience, what I shared with you today. And last but not least, celebrate. Celebrate every single outcome. As a matter of fact, celebrate this step. Celebrate this lesson. As soon as you're done with this lesson, celebrate it, because celebration will bring you what? Emotion. And what is emotion? It's energy plus motion. So you're going to create the energy. Celebration itself will give you a lot of energy, which you will use and then will need to actually do even more, because after every single achievement and getting to the outcome and results which you want out of your life, you're going to be letting you're going to put in this bar even higher. Remember that wheel of life? You're going to expand that wheel and make it smoother and bigger, smoother and bigger. And the whole process of life is to just work on this wheel of life and expand it evenly. Okay? All right. So celebrate, get the energy, because you're gonna need this energy to continue to go through the program. We only halfway through, guys. We have a lot of things to cover, and I need your attention, I need your focus, I need your homework to be done, and I need your energy. So celebrate this step, practice and create and go through the homework, chunk it up, make it done, and I will see you on the next step. So excited about it.